When it's yourself, you can't deny yourself.
And let's leave them.
All right. Blessed love, royal family. Give thanks for life and the mighty life giver. Holy Emmanuel, I, Selassie, I, Jah, Rastafari. This is the African Liberation Network, and we are happy to be in another international study group. Give thanks for all that are with us in the Zoom. Give thanks for all watching on YouTube and those that are watching in the future. Yeah, give thanks for, the presence of the living God with us, in us. We do have a priest on this time, so I'll allow Honorable Priest Headley to open the program with a prayer, and then we'll begin the reasoning. Today's topic is the King of Kings, Emperor Haile Selassie I. My Lord, Priest Headley, if you could unmute and go through. Priest Headley. Just a moment. Priest Headley, unmute, my Lord.
Now I hear you.
I see.
Oh, yeah, reach.
Putting on a robe, beloved.
Okay, my Lord. So we'll wait a moment then. Give thanks.
Royal Majesty.
My Lord.
Yes, as we know, we'll go up with the 133rd Psalm. Glory be to our Father, to the Son, to the Holy One of creation. As Jah was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, the word without end. Selassie, I, Jah, Rastafari. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for us, brethren and sisters, to dwell together in unity and love. It is like the precious ointment upon the head, even hair and beard that went down the earth of his God. The dew of Hermon, and on the mountain was blessed, even life and love forevermore. Oh, we hail our God, Selassie, Jehovah God, Rastafari. Our Almighty God, Rastafari, great and terrible God, Rastafari. Almighty God. Jah, who seated in Zion and went to the hearts of all flesh. How thou most high, eternal Father, Jehovah God, Rastafari. And bless us, O Lord, keep us and sanctify us all. Cause thine holy face to shine upon us, thy children, that we shall be saved and redeemed. How thou most high God, Jah, Rastafari. The king shall join thy strength, O Lord, and in thy salvation, how greatly shall he rejoice. For thou hast given his heart's desire, and has not withholden the request of his lips. Selah, Rastafari. My Lord and Empress, give thanks. I'll turn over unto the host, Royal Majesty. Blessed art.
Glorify. Give
My
thanks,
Lord,
Honorable. Yes, royal family. So as I said earlier, the topic today is the King of Kings, Nagusa Nagast, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Yeah, and before we go into it, I would just like to, ask that, ones and ones in the Zoom meeting, if you have background noise, just be mindful, and try and keep it muted unless you're speaking, so that it doesn't interfere with whoever is speaking the sound. So, otherwise, we welcome everyone to share. If you have any, scriptures, any prophecy, any, story, anything you want to read, it's open, you know, as a reason, and so we're all building and adding on to each other, to sharpen each other and to bring forward the most rounded information, you know. So yes, without further ado, you know, the topic, the King of Kings,
Yes,
His
beloved.
Imperial Majesty,
The machine.
Selassie first.
Which one that now?
Yeah, sorry, bro.
His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie the First. You know, the previous weeks we did the prophet, and then we spoke about the priest, and now is the King of Kings. You know, and specifically as he relates to Bobo Shanti order and what he represents, and you know who he is to us. You know, there's basic information, you know, as far as like when he was born, you know, July 23rd, 1892, and the fact that he was Lidge Tafari, and then the Jazz Match Tafari, and then Ras Tafari, and then Nagus Tafari, which is the king, you know, but then he became the regent plenipotentiary, meaning that he, even though he was not the emperor, he had all the power of the country, and then he became Nagus Nagast, Haile Selassie the First, and he got that name, Haile Selassie the First, at his coronation, which means might or power of the Holy Trinity. Yeah, and so that's, you know, the basics. He crowned his empress at the same time, and you know, he was the father of African unity, being that he, you know, started the Organization of African Unity, which later became the African Union. He had a lot of titles. He was the leader also of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. And, you know, we call him the defender of our faith, the elect of God, the light of this world. You know, he is the most decorated of any king, meaning he has the most titles of any king ever in history, you know. We also know that his lineage coming from Empress Makeda, what they call the Queen of Sheba, you know, when she made her journey to Israel, to Jerusalem to visit King Solomon, you know, their son Menelik I was the first ruler of Ethiopia, which was following Israelite, you know, tradition, you know, Judah law and things like that. He brought that tradition, that lineage to Ethiopia through his mother. And, you know, he was a very great king, a very wise king. They said he favored his grandfather, King David, you know. And so 225 kings later is Emperor Haile Selassie I, through that same Solomonic lineage, as well as the Ethiopian, you know, ruling lineage as well, you know. So it's in his DNA, you know, to be great. But there was prophecy about him, of course, you know, in the Bible, and also local, you know, prophecy in Ethiopia. And you know, once they saw the prince and realized how powerful he was and how intelligent he was, and they knew that he would one day be the leader of the country, you know. And he reigned longer than any other Ethiopian emperor, you know, from 1930 until 1974. Yeah, and then, you know, he established his own constitution, which he also revised. And, you know, he had the Bible translated to Amharic so that everybody could read it, you know. And he established schools, he established industries, he defended his country, you know, with his words through, you know, his address to the League of Nations, which, you know, later, because of their failure to listen to his warning, later they had to, you know, dismantle the League of Nations and rise it again at the United Nations. And so His Majesty even, you know, helped to create the charter for the United Nations. So overall, his mission, you know, was to unite the world through collective security, through international morality, you know, which is the same thing, you know, we see in King Emmanuel, Charles Edwards, and even in Marcus Garvey. So it's the same mission, you know. But yeah, I would just, you know, I was just a short introduction, some background information about the King of Kings, Emperor Haile Selassie I. But at this time, you know, I would love to ask the elder, Honorable Priest Headley, if he could even say some words, you know, regarding the King of Kings. And then we'll just, you know, freely, you know, reason amongst ourselves. Ones and ones, like I said, are welcome to share if you have anything you want to say or read or, you know, tell the international family about the King of Kings and how he relates to the Bobo Shanti order. Yes, I. Honorable Priest Headley, can you hear me, my lord? You can unmute yourself. He's in the meeting. Oh, he's not here. He's not on. Okay. Well, Priest Headley's not on. So then I would ask anyone, you know, the freedom, you know, to reason and share about the King of Kings. And I'm going to try to get in touch with Priest Headley and see if he can get back on the program. Blessed love, Empress Lily May, Empress Maisie. You have anything, you the elders, I would ask you, you know, to speak first. All right. If not, then I'll just continue. You know,
Blessed love, honorable Astron. I was trying to cut down my background on boombox with a service from the Bahamas.
okay.
So I'll be free now to give thanks and praises for our King of Kings and Lord of Lords, conquering every tribe of Judah, elect to God alive in this world. Our own divine majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie and Empress Menen, and I give thanks to King Emmanuel Charles Edwards, because this man taught us how to worship and adore our Father, you know, and make us to know that Emperor Selassie is our Father and Empress Menen is our Mother. We must reverence him and adore him. And like one day, Jah tell me when I was around in his office that I mustn't fear him. I must fear the man in me. So when I look, I say, oh, the Father is in me, so he's the Son. So he's telling me now not to fear him. This is of his King Emmanuel Charles Edwards' mouth. He told me, don't fear me, fear the man in you. So I was like, the man in me. Then I realized it is Emperor Haile Selassie and Empress Menen, you know, because the two of them walk hand in hand. The first time I visited Empress Menen and Empress Selassie, they was on their throne, and I was going through some tribulation in Harborview. I just left the hill for the first time, and I asked for some strength, and that's when I first saw His Majesty and Empress Menen, you know, in a vision, and it was very uplifting, you know. Emperor Haile Selassie, man, judgment, but I need a whole program to talk about this man, because he is so great. I mean, this man, great from this man. Tell me, say in 1975, you know, that he's my God, and I took him because he chose me before, you know, like he said, St. John 14. You never chose me, you know, I chose you. I ordained you and teach you, you know, the Sabbath day. And he said he'll bring everything I remember. And he said, when the Comforter come, he can show you plainly about the Father, you know, which is Emperor Selassie, you know. And he said, anything we must want, we just ask in his name and he will supply it. And we can see that in our daily lives, how His Imperial Majesty take care of us from we, because most of us, right? Most of us came through His Majesty, you know, then to King Emmanuel or to Marcus Garvey and then to King Emmanuel. But always us know, King Rastafari, go out and seek his children spiritually. Like there's a hymn say, ring the bells of Zion, there's joy today. For the soul returning from the wild. Look at this. See the father meets him out upon the way, welcoming his weary wandering child. I say that, I always sing that in the mornings, and I say, look at daddy, look how just so loving and kind. When he called you, he didn't just leave you. He just go out on the way, and strengthen us. His weary wandering child. Glory, 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 how the angels sing. Glory, glory, how the house have strength. Tis a ransom army like a mighty sea. Pealing for the anthem of the free. Most High, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. Like I said, I need a program for myself, so I wouldn't even try to talk too long, but I would, and when other loved ones speak, I would love to speak on the exile, when His Majesty went in exile, I would love to speak a little on that tonight too, later down in the program. I give thanks for each and every one is on the Zoom and who listening in on the YouTube. I give thanks for the hosts and I ask that, to strengthen us on this road, this pilgrim journey, like the Empress saying, on this battlefield, of good or evil,
Yes.
I give thanks and praises for His Majesty and all His Majesty and Her Majesty's sons and daughters. Holy Emmanuel, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. That is my little reasoning. Honorable.
Oh, blessed morning, blessed love, royal angels.
Love, love, love.
Dada?
Yes, I am. Blessed.
Love, blessed love. We'll give thanks again for another morning as we reason on our study group, one to another this morning. So let us seal Emperor Haile Selassie.
Yeah, Rastafari.
Rastafari. My Lord and Empress, we give thanks again, for our Father, mighty Selassie, King of Kings, Lords of Lords, conquering line of the tribe of Judah, great man, coming from the line of King David right down, great man, and 72 nations. Look at that. 72 nations of her bow and crown this man, King of Kings. See, there was no other man was good enough to get that crown but our father, Emperor Haile Selassie, with our mother, 1930, the 2nd of November. Them go around it, but them couldn't stop it. You see, so they had us to crown our father. We give thanks again for the life and work of Emperor Haile Selassie. And coming up as a child, hearing about this great man. And even in 1966, when the man came to Jamaica, I was small. And I see all the Rasta man them pack up from my district, go on to town to meet this man. Didn't know much about him at the time, but just hearing as a child and come up and learn about this great man and the mighty works that the man have put down for and I black people still, There was no other good enough but King Selassie himself. So I give thanks for the life and work of our father. And I also give thanks for the life and work of Honorable Prince Emmanuel, who taught us about our father. I man said the 3 in 1 and the 1 in 3. The prophet, the priest, and the king. They never disagree. They walk hands in hands. So the prophet point us unto the priest point us unto the father. So we give thanks. As this morning, I'm not feeling so good in my stomach at this time. I cannot really speak long. I don't know what happened, but I'm just blessing. Yeah, as Sister Lily said, give thanks to the word of the Empress. And as she said, there are a lot more to talk about. But my stomach is not feeling so good right now. I can't really say much at this time, but I'm telling you, give thanks to our Father, Emperor Haile Selassie. As I can remember, even before I start to rest. And then say our Father, as you know, when the world claimed that the King of Kings and the Lords of Lords passed in 1974. That's when Rasta rise up, young generation them rise up, you know, and start to say, Selassie, praise this man, great man, our God and King, King of Door, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. I was saying this to say that we give thanks and I come to know the man, know that he is our Father, we are his children, we are the sheep of his pastors, and now we just have to live right amongst ourselves, do good. That is what our Father is. Give thanks again for our blessing, our loved one in Christ, as we reason one to another.
Yes, my Lord, give thanks to your all blessing towards His Majesty. Thanks to life in honor of priesthood.
My Lord, give thanks. Blessed.
Yes, my Lord. Give thanks to the power of the Trinity, you know, in all flesh of all people, you know. Give thanks to the black supremacy, you know. Word spoken, you know. Liberty, you know. Give thanks to all saints, you know. The black Christ in flesh, you know. Teach us, you know, how to love King or God and King, you know. From the Trinity come straight up. Give thanks to all good things, you know, said and done, you know. Rastafari, all Emmanuel eyes, the last year, yeah. Rastafari. And I see the King as a man of godliness, kindness, meekness. You understand? The King is a man where we now practice amongst ourselves, but we shall learn from the King is etiquette amongst ourselves, you know? You understand me? That's teeth and tongue will meet, but yet it does be yeah and nay. You know, so we need to take some things from the King book, not just to talk about him, but we need to try people, emulate him for so him do for we as black people and a whole, as even Baba Shanti. And we not have that much of the King. I live amongst yourself. We know the order, we know yeah, Baba Shanti is that, but live it amongst yourself. We need to find that. You know, we need to find that etiquette, learn to love each other as how we love ourselves, learn to care for each other, learn to understand the way our differences come, but we need to work it out and get back to the right. King come for life. The devil come for death, he come for take life, and Jack come for life. So the man teaches us when a dead him can't do dash to it. So amongst yourself, we have to find the ways of the King amongst yourself.
Yeah,
you know? So that's the way that I see where we right now, if you look forward on the King, you know, we read everything we know about the King, we know everything, but how the King live, we need to try to live that amongst yourself. You know, so we need to find more etiquette amongst yourself and live more freely, you know. Can freely amongst yourself, you know. We give thanks to the world and give thanks to the linking, give thanks to everything from Rastafari, you know. Blessed love, you know. That's my few words. And our priesthood, blessed love.
Yes, my Lord. Give thanks, Honorable.
Yes, my Lord.
The floor is open. Yes.
Yes, my Lord.
True. The floor is open, you know. Ones on ones free up, you know, if you have anything you want to read or share. In the meantime, I did have something I wanted to read if no one else is ready to present.
My lord, this moment, my lord, no, I send out the word, you know. And I embarkment towards Baba Hill to
Yeah, go on top. Why, mama?
1,000 priests, you know. You understand me? Prepare yourself for the war that come right now. So we need the word to go out all over the world. We need prophet to come in, to come turn priests. We need 1,000 priests. That's my word right now. Go from the prince straight up.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy.
So we need everywhere, every camp, everywhere who's ABIC, prophet them all over the world. We need them together to come turn priests. That is the only way we can fight the war right now. We have to use the priesthood order. So right now we need 1,000 priests. Come get crowned, turn priests, come learn the order of priesthood. So we need the word for God. Yes, my Lord.
Prophet is this? It's
Priest, my Lord. Priesthood, honorable priesthood, Empress Lily. You don't remember priesthood? Priest Edley, priesthood.
Yes, Bobo.
Yes, that's the word out right now. Need 1,000 priests to build for the war. So we need from all camp, everywhere in the world, we're Bobo there. We need to send in the prophet them to learn to turn priest. We need to gather our priesthood order and set the order straight. 144,000 elective saint, black woman and child, numberless. Than sands on the seashore. So the reality will depend. You understand? So I don't word them have out there for the man them right now. Priest just us know, you know. We are set forward the tabernacle up, straight up forward. And if I put in the window, them and set the tabernacle up. By January, February, the tabernacle is supposed to up and we seal it up and we're ready. We start already. Start to do the work to prepare ourselves together. 1,000 priests, 1,000 empress. Come learn the order to be the black amigo. So that's the work that right now, we're on right now. Together. And then we are together priesthood. Priests we are together. We need 1,000 priests to train. So that's the support we need, and that's the word we want for God. Yes, my Lord. Give thanks to the life, you know. Give thanks to black supremacy, we have life. Talk black, eat black, and meditate black, and think black. You understand? So that's the way Father teaches us. You know, the man says everything is black. The white man right is a different right from the black man right, you know. You understand me? So then the black man, the white man tell us that something is right. It's always wrong. Because the black man right stand for the world of black people and the world of people. Because God in all flesh of all people. We need to stand up now. Black man right. Learn to talk. People never know of black supremacy. We can't speak. Among themselves, Bobo chant to them out in the world don't know how to speak black supremacy. You understand? We need to learn to speak all our language. Black supremacy. Righteousness of salvation. We need to speak that. So these things we need to teach. That's the youth them can know that. You understand? Because a lot of youth come, them don't know how to speak black supremacy. Once of them can't speak black supremacy. So that's how it's going on. So I give thanks to the reason as we can voice all the word out there, because the word need to get out there in a universally, internationally, so the fathers. Peace and love, my few words, you know. Yes, my love.
Yes, sir.
And keep on sending me the link, because we need to reason more, because the reason alone can we solve our problem. You understand? Only reason alone.
Reasoning better than
my
preaching.
Thanks for the word, my Lord.
Man says only reason alone we can solve our problem too, you know.
It's not true.
Yes, my lord. So the man said teamwork, the dream work, and we need to form a team to make Jah work becomes. You understand me?
Unity is strength, my Lord.
Work. You understand me? I say so. And that's what happen right now. You understand me? So here anytime. Because Jah work could happen right now. You understand me? Babylon time I come now to an end. We have to take up speed from Jah work right now. You understand me? Enough out on this, but all of the enough young man them, that's why I call for 1,000 priests. Because we need the young man them to stand up beside down and making us strong. So that's so it's set. You understand me? I say? Teach
True,
you.
my Lord. Come to the topic now. King of Kings.
So,
Give
we
thanks,
tell you
my Lord,
about
for the upful
yeah, give
meditation, my Lord.
thanks,
Give
man.
thanks for the word.
Give thanks,
Yes,
man.
I.
So, my few word, bless the love.
Give thanks, my Lord, for the word, you know.
So,
Yes, sir.
Glorify. Give thanks. The floor is open.
Bless the love, my Lord, and Empress, Prince and Princess.
Honorable.
And my Lord, I just want a brief reason that I bring concerning prophecy, my Lord.
Yes, sir.
I read from the book of Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6, my Lord. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. Our man shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end, upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice, from henceforth even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. The Lord sent a word unto Jacob, and it had lighted upon Israel. Holy Emmanuel, Selassie, Jah.
Rastafari.
Yeah, my Lord, this prophecy now was in the Bible, you know, before Selassie born then. This is the prophecy was showing you until a child will be born, 1892. His name shall be called the Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Selassie, I mean might and power, the Holy Trinity. Jah, mean God is man. Rastafari, head creator. You know, so his name showing you well, you know, the Mighty God then, you know. Upon the throne of David, straight from Judah. It was from Solomon, Solomon, from King David to Solomon and Queen of Sheba reunion. Melech the first went to Ethiopia with the Ark of the Covenant. From them time, they now king started with Ethiopia. Melech, 225th king, His Imperial Majesty, 1892, the king come and born, fulfilling this prophecy here, my Lord. Upon the throne of David, you know. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. So this performance then, this performer already, this prophecy fulfilled. His Imperial Majesty himself fulfilled his prophecy when he born 1892, my Lord. So from a prophetical vibes concerning the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, even before the king that born, it was written in the Holy Bible that the king will be coming and the government shall be upon his shoulder. We all know the king come governmental. Yeah, my Lord. I let the floor open to any other one still, you know. I'm coming again all the time and again still, my Lord. Rastafari.
Bless the love, glorify my Lord. Enjoy that.
Give thanks, give thanks.
Yes, I. Pardon me. Yeah, the floor is open still, you know. I would just like to, you know, share a little bit speech, you know, to the United Nations 63. And this is, you know, of course, after the League of Nations was dismantled and the United Nations had existed for a little while still. But, you know, being that he and King Emmanuel both, you know, made their presence, we should follow the session and the United Nations to continue the work that our father, you know, set out to do. But anyway, I'm going to, you know, read a little bit. It won't be too long still, but just to give us, you know, some insight into what his mission, you know, what his mission was and how he sought to go about accomplishing said mission. All right. So 27 years ago, as Emperor of Ethiopia, I mounted the rostrum in Geneva, Switzerland, to address the League of Nations and to appeal for relief from the destruction which had been unleashed against my defense socialist nation by the fascist invader. I spoke then both to and for the conscience of the world. My words went unheeded, but history testifies to the 1836, that being, the prophecy that he said, today it's me, tomorrow you. The match that's lit in Ethiopia will burn in Europe, so his prophecy did come true. As he said, it was accurate. Continuing, today I stand before the World Organization, which has succeeded to the mantle discarded by its discredited predecessor. In this body is enshrined the principle of collective security, which I unsuccessfully invoked at Geneva. Here in this assembly reposes the best, perhaps the last, hope for peaceful survival of mankind. In 1936, I declared that it was not the covenant of the League that was at stake, but international morality. Undertakings, I said then, are of little worth if the will to keep them is lacking. The Charter of the United Nations expresses the noblest aspirations of man. Abjuration of force in the settlement of disputes between states, the assurance of human rights and fundamental freedoms for all without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion, the safeguarding of international peace and security. But these two, as were the phrases of the covenant, are only words. Their value depends wholly on our will to observe and honor them and give them content and meaning. The preservation of peace and the guaranteeing of man's basic freedoms and rights require courage and eternal vigilance. Courage to speak and act, and if necessary, to suffer and die for truth and justice. Eternal national morality should not go undetected and unremedied. These lessons must be learned anew by each succeeding generation. And that generation is fortunate indeed, which learns from other than its own. Its members bear a crushing and awesome responsibility to absorb the wisdom of history and to apply it to the problems of the present in order that future. Yes, so I'll stop there, just give you an idea, of what His Majesty really wanted to, how he wanted to impact the world. He wanted to, as he saw a world war, 2 world wars, and war here in this whole continent. Everybody around him had fought in war, There's only a couple of countries in Africa that didn't have any civil war, So, yeah, His Majesty he wanted also to get rid of the nuclear arms race. He said that they should use the nuclear science it's not good for any man or men to possess such power where they can press a button and wipe out, a whole, region or, to destroy so much life with just one bomb is too dangerous, So he wanted to get rid of the nuclear arms race. And he said also, he doesn't think that just because if we get rid of arms, if we disarm, it doesn't mean there's going to be peace. But it's just a matter of, some of these weapons that these people create is just too much. Yeah. And, he also was seeking to establish equality, as he said, regardless of sex, race, religion, any of those things, So we see the same mission, in King Emmanuel, same way, He said equal rights and justice for all, knowing them and those that love Satan and his kingdom must fall, Yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to share that because I think it gives you a good insight into what King Haile Selassie stood for and what it was that he wanted to do in the world and his vision, as he said, because, the United Nations is the last hope for international peace and security. And, as we see right now, the United Nations is failing because the same nations that cause the problems are the ones that have the majority voice in the United Nations, countries like America, England, Germany. These are the same ones who, go around
Have
the
the
world
veto power.
creating
They have
wars.
the veto power.
Exactly. Yes,
The
So
veto power.
you couldn't expect the same people that are the problem to solve the problem. So, the United Nations is going to fail as well. It has failed and it's continuing to fail. So really the only, real remedy is just for people to live right, and to stop fighting each other and stop killing each other. International morality, meaning, is just simple righteousness of salvation, Yeah. So it's the same message, as you say, the 3 and 1 and 1 and 3, never disagree. So yeah, I'll just open the floor, and just allow ones and ones to share, whoever has
Prophet
something.
Daniel.
Yes,
Prophet Daniel, I have a question, my Lord.
Honorable.
The speech which I'm reading from, is that his speech in United Nations at one of his many visits to America?
I don't know where. Let me look and see if it says where. Nah, I don't know where he made this speech. I know it was to the United Nations.
I read that speech, something similar to that, one of his state visits to America. His Majesty made about 5 or 6 state visits to America,
Truly, yes,
Everything is documented in a book. I lent out the book, Sister Deborah, in my book. His Majesty in the New World. And it has so much history about His Majesty, where His Majesty went, every visit he went on, it was Eisenhower, and it was Kennedy, and it was Nixon. A few of them well. So he stood, or he slept, I should say, or reside in the White House one night, I think, but the consulate was right opposite the White House, and His Majesty went to a lot of churches. Have you ever seen New York? Every time you come, the people just line off, on both sides, and sometimes he'll come out his open back vehicle and just walk, miles, and just shake hands with people. And it was glorious. A lot of Black Americans, man, a lot. I mean, and people of all races too, but a lot of Black Americans came out, and and at one of those visits, he went to the United Nations and he spoke, and told them the same thing that you read, my Lord.
Okay, yeah, well, maybe it is this particular website that I got it from. It just says it's a address to the United Nations General Assembly. It's the same speech. It's the same speech where he said, "Until the philosophy which hold one race superior." That's further down in the speech. You know what I mean? So I don't know where it was. It doesn't say here. But I wanted to add to what you were saying. Whenever he visited America, at one point, it was in the Chicago newspaper. He said that he's the king of Negroes everywhere. He said he's the king of Black people all over the world. So he claimed us. He left Ethiopia to come in and make sure we were all right. He sent his church, and he also created the Ethiopian World Federation, for us as well to
back to Africa,
be able to unite and link with.
Back to Africa. But my Lord, what is beautiful too? I'm gonna come off now. Let's give someone else a chance. His reign in Hara. Do you know that he declared in his constitution in Hara when he was governor around the age of 19, 20, 21? Because in Sidamona, he was 16 and 17 when he had his own Sidamona province, which is Shashamane is part of it, Wonder Genet, Hawassa. He made a model city in Hawassa. And he went in Hara and he established the model city. And Hawassa is beautiful now. Hawassa airport is clean, and you go there, come like you're in a foreign, like you look at Isles of Baba. Hawassa is beautiful. He have a castle there also, and that's His Majesty model city. But he ruled at 16, but he couldn't go into the courts and rule but he used to sit and listen to judgments, and and his grandmother on his mother's side was his housekeeper, and he said those were the best years of his life. Mostly probably without drama. And then he tell me, Alexa, you want to go to school? Alexa, I thought you want to be a governor. So he said, okay, go to school with the Jisu and all the other noble sons. And after he finished school, then he went to Hara when they gave him his providence after his brother died, Yelma. And then they gave him his father, they call it perpetuate or something. And he established his constitution. And he said, no one doesn't work on the Sabbath. And it was so beautiful, you pay in honey, and he tell the farmers how to do with the merchants and he set up a government, I mean, par excellence, in those days. And he was only 19, 18, and 20, around those ages, But it's very, very beautiful to read, That's what I throwing out to the panel, Make us try and read up on all those, Yes, bless.
Yes, sir.
Give thanks, Empress Lily. Give thanks to the history, my honorable Empress.
Give thanks, honorable Goddess Miriam. Bless you.
Yes, I glorify my queen. Blessed love.
Yeah, well, he modern one, just to add some more things that His Majesty was able to do in his time, from 1930. I mean, even before 1930, as she said, he established Constitution before he was even the King of Kings, but he modernized Ethiopia. When he was growing up, they didn't have much like roads. They didn't have lights in most places. It was really just in Addis Ababa and that, the area close around there. So there wasn't really, too much communication. It took a lot longer to send a message to someone and things like that. He established, like, all the way you see, the airport, not just the airport, but the Ethiopian Airlines, all of that stuff he started the initiative to really bring Ethiopia out of, the 19th or 20th, the 19th century and into the 20th century, and to modernize, like how the European countries are modernizing themselves and things like that, He was the Minister of Education. He sent out, graduates from, Ethiopia to universities all over the world to learn sciences and things that they didn't really have in Ethiopia, with the intention of them bringing that
The voice is slurring.
back to Ethiopia to teach.
There's a slurring going on there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Daniel.
Okay. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Still. Bobo? Manuel,
Yes,
Selassie, yeah. That's all right.
Selassie, Jah,
Yes,
Rastafari.
Farai. Yes, Jajo.
Hello, Royal House. Give thanks for life again.
Yes,
And
my Lord,
study
give
group.
thanks.
I
Welcome.
want to share some words about His Imperial Majesty visits to Europe before 1930, and about his purpose visiting Middle East and Europe. He was to Jerusalem, to Egypt, to France, to Brussels, Amsterdam, Stockholm, London, Geneva, and Athens. And it says that his main objective of the trip to Europe was for Ethiopia to gain access to the sea. And it says that in Paris,
he learned that this objective will not be achieved. Nevertheless, he continued his trip with his delegation in the work of inspecting schools, hospitals, factories, and churches. And although follows that many reforms about like what we're saying about this modernization of Ethiopia was according to European models. Rastafari was aware of the European pressure, and to protect himself against economic imperialism, Rastafari demanded that all business must have local ownership on his modernization campaign. And he commented that we need European progress. This is his words. He said that we need European progress only because we are surrounded by it. And this is both a benefit and a disgrace. So he was aware of, that this was really a pressure, but he used that progress and this modernization to really bring that, bring this modernization to the people of Ethiopia. And there is many things that he really liked on the tradition of Ethiopia. He also changed and modernized. Like in Ethiopia, when he was crowned, the empress was supposed to be crowned at a different time, but he crowned himself with his empress. And another one is that when he was about to be crowned, what they did when there was an emperor or an empress that would have passed away, they would not do a ceremonial burial to the dead king or queen. But His Imperial Majesty, he was proclaimed emperor when Queen Sauditu passed away on the 2nd of April, 1930. But he waited 7 months to be crowned because he was going to perform a ceremonial burial to the queen, which in other cases would not have happened because they would crown the emperor, and then after they would crown the new king, they would do the ceremonial burial to the emperor that passed away. But in this case, His Imperial Majesty announced by his proclamation that he will give a ceremonial burial to Queen Sauditu, my lord and empress.
Can you hear me now?
My lord.
Okay, good, thanks. Yeah, pardon me.
Give thanks and glorify for that history, Brother Joseph. Enjoyed it.
Honorable, give thanks. Yeah, at other times, this is what I was looking. At other times, at the demise of the emperor, the officials of the royal house would take him clandestinely and bury him. And before anyone could hear about it, and on the morrow, they would place his son and heir on the throne after they conducted the royal installation service and crowned him. The death of the father and the new reign of the son will be announced by proclamation at the same time. But this Imperial Majesty did not do it like this. He waited to
I read that before.
To a royal burial.
Yes, I read that before.
So give time for King Selassie really come to rectify everything and to give the royal dignity to all Black people, because with his coming forward on the African unity, I see it like the dignity of his throne was to be shared with all Black people all over the world. So he really come to bring this, to recognize his hair and his throne even in the diaspora, because he visited all places where there was a lot of his sons and his daughters. So I really give thanks to His Majesty for opening wide the door for a Black Ethiopian to really see themselves as kings and queens of the earth. Selassie, Jah, Rastafari.
Right. Empress Patrona, you have your hand raised. You can speak. Yeah, you muted yourself, Empress. Empress Patrona.
Blessed love, my love.
Blessed love, honorable.
Or give thanks. I might just be gone again before you can blink, because this internet is behaving very erratically. Give thanks for life and give thanks for this day, and give thanks for ones and ones who are gathered here on this forum and ones who are listening on the other forum. Give thanks for the Black Christ, and give thanks for all I and I who know the Black Christ and who know the power of the Trinity. Give thanks. Now, because I wasn't in the reasoning at the start, I don't know what the topic is.
Topic is the
And
King
it
of
wasn't.
Kings.
Oh, the topic is His Majesty, the King.
Yes.
Oh, give thanks. I hadn't had time to meditate on it. Usually I meditate on these things beforehand. The first thing I'd like to say, the brother who just spoke, Brother Joseph, he kept referring to Empress Zaditu as Queen Zaditu. She was an empress. And I find that's been happening quite a lot when ones and ones speak about the empresses. Ethiopia did not just have emperors, they were empresses, and they were empresses. Her Majesty Empress Menen was a queen before she became an empress. Because she was queen, His Majesty was a king for many years before he became an emperor. So there is a difference. But I find ones are reluctant to render the same honor to the female as to the male, which is why I've been told that when I've heard one refer to Empress Zaditu as Queen Zaditu. I think we should get up to date with this and realize that the emperor and the empress is, it's empress. Once she's an empress, she's an empress. And one should not be reluctant to use the same honorary terms for the woman as one uses for the man. That is what I learned from His Majesty's action at his coronation, equality. He come to break down the inequality and let us all see that the man and woman is one. When I heal Haile Selassie I, I am healing the Empress as well, because Haile Selassie I is a title for both man and woman. They were crowned together. That makes the title one. They are half of the man, and the woman is half of the whole. So the title for me, when I heal Haile Selassie I, I am healing male and female at the same time in eye meditation. I don't need to add on the Empress because I never took her away. I hope that makes sense.
Sense, Empress.
Blessed love.
True. Blessed love,
Did any of
Honorable
that
Empress.
make sense?
True,
That
Honorable
makes
Empress.
perfect sense, Mama. Perfect sense. We
Perfect.
have the meditation. Glorify.
I give thanks for that word, Empress, and that correction, because it is really that point that I was trying to make, that His Imperial Majesty, by him work, him gave such honor to the Royal Empress Zaditu as he gave his honor to Empress Menen at the same time of his coronation and at the time of his proclamation as Emperor of Ethiopia. He gave that honor to Empress Saudi too, by giving that waiting time for the Empress Royal Burial Ceremony. I give thanks, Honorable Empress Petrona, for making that point clear, Honorable Empress, and the corrections.
It makes sense. It does make sense, Empress Patrona. Give thanks.
We'll rest in a moment. Have a meditation.
Because it's a different title. Empress Saudi too, as Empress Menen were queens before they were proclaimed Empress of Ethiopia.
So that's what the studies group is all about.
Well, and I say, Empress Saudi did not become an empress because she married an emperor. She became an empress through her relationship with Empress Menelik II. She did not marry an emperor to become
Emperor Menelik.
Empress Menen did. The Empress Menen became an empress because she was married to the emperor. But Empress Saudi had no husband. She gave up her husband. I can't recall the exact reason why she gave up her husband, but she did. So she was an empress who ruled, who governed without an emperor. Empress, His Majesty, as regent, was her right-hand man instead of a husband.
Right.
Am I rambling or does that make sense?
Well, no, I mean, I wouldn't say you're rambling. I would say, really, like, even though she was the empress, and this isn't really the takeaway, but just to be clear, when Negus Tafari was the regent plenipotentiary, he really was the one governing the country. He couldn't really do anything he wanted to. Some things he had to get her permission still, but he had the most authority, really, because she wasn't really, like, she didn't have any background in ruling, She was just a child of the emperor. So, it worked out to where His Majesty really was, she was more like his right-hand woman, kind of in a way still, but she had the title of empress, even though he was still only king, but he had the power. And more.
May I make a point? It might be a minor point, but I saw a picture of the Empress Raditu, sitting in a chair. I have that picture actually on my wall. And the chair on her right hand is empty. And just behind that chair stands the king, the regent. Now, I wondered about that. He's sitting in the chair to right. Does anyone have a clearance on that? Because I kind of have one, but I would like to hear someone else's maybe. Do you know the picture I speak of?
This sounds familiar, but I can't say 100% for sure.
I know.
I actually have it on my wall. The Empress. It's a royal setting. It's a royal setting, and the Empress is sitting within her royal regalia on the chair, and there is a chair to her right, and His Majesty Rastafari is standing with his hand on the back of the chair, but he's not sitting beside her.
Why is it?
And that, do you know the picture? Anyone else have seen that?
Ursula, I saw a picture similar to that, but how this picture, what I saw was Empress Zadadu was sitting in her chair, but I didn't see a next chair, but on her what is this, vertical side, Majesty was standing. That's the picture I saw.
I think I found it. Hold on, I'm sure. Share it and you can see if that's right.
Empress Ratu is sitting on one, and the chair to her right, not the vertical side, the opposite side, was empty, and His Majesty stood just to the outside and behind.
True. And
They'd done that for quite some time, wondering why he was not sitting in the chair beside her. And then I looked at pictures of His Majesty and Her Majesty Empress Menen, and they were always sitting together, both sitting on a chair or a throne beside each other.
Well,
I meditated on it for quite a long time.
I imagine that
Yeah,
that,
come on.
Oh,
that
there is
scene
the
was
picture.
for the emperor.
My Lord,
Honorable.
blessed art the liberation, powers, and strength.
Yeah, Jack.
Powers to the priests and to the royal empresses. To
Yes,
Honorable
my lord.
Daniel. Love.
Saw it. I
My
never saw
lord.
what I saw.
My Lord, I have a picture like that right now here, my Lord. I had a exact picture, my Lord. Empress Zodi too, my Lord. But it's not His Majesty, you know.
This is beautiful.
It's
Who
not
is
His
it?
Majesty, you know. It's one of her favorite priests.
Oh,
Looking like His Majesty, but you know, we Ethiopians look alike.
give thanks, my Lord.
The royal
I've been
Empress.
wondering about that for years.
Yeah, I have evidence. I have evidence right here, Mama. I can show you proof.
Josh, you have all the information.
Yeah, give thanks, Jack Clarky.
Listen.
Yeah.
Give thanks for the clearance.
Yes, Royal
Yes.
Empress, man.
Honorable.
Give thanks. You know, she was. They really say she was ruling from the year 1916 to 1930 as
That's
Empress Zodi II, Menelik. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I also, may I say that I also read a book. This is I can't remember who loaned me the book because it wasn't mine, so I had to return it. But there was a picture of Empress Zodi II, and underneath the picture was a quote from Emperor Menelik II, her father. And in this quote, he was actually instructing Rastafari. So he was instructing the Empress that Rastafari is supposed to be her right-hand person and then become emperor.
Mm-hmm.
This many years ago when I first went to Cobble Hill, I read that in a book. Clearly, he was expressing to Empress Zodi II his desire for her to follow him and raise up Rastafari to follow after her. Anyone have any further clearance on that?
Yes, Mama. My clearance on that too.
Please let me hear it, my lord. I want all clearances. All things that I wonder about and meditate on, I like to get clearance at some point.
Yes, I. It's a piece of history I read in a book too. I go back and feel it's the same book within the archives here now. You know, within a certain prophecy, a reason. And yes, I did read that. I believe I have it in one of my scrolls. I write it down somewhere on my parchment paper. While we go along and we try to dig it up. But I did read it and write it down as evidence now.
Yes. Yeah, this was a direct instruction from Emperor Menelik II to his daughter.
Yes, I would just like to probably input again here. That was the parents of Ligiasu, Ras Michael and Zodi II.
They were married.
Yes, Ras Michael and Zodi II. That was the parents of Ligiasu, which is His Majesty cousin within the royal lineage, you know?
And he became a serious enemy of His Majesty.
Yeah, I read a book too. It was so terrible with him too. Not cotton. They tried to assassinate His Majesty going across a lake, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Lidiashu, because he had aspirations to be the emperor,
He was the heir. He was actually going to be the emperor, but
Natural, my lord, natural.
they found out that he was. They
But
said that
because
he was going into Islam or something like that. So they, they decided to get rid of him, and they, sent him
and
away
they
from
had
the capital city, and he was dwelling out in the wilderness somewhere, and somebody was watching him, but he had managed to escape. So they had to really, His Majesty had to stop him, because he knew Yasu was gonna come and try to kill him still and try and be the king.
Lion.
But yeah, it just wasn't meant to be for him, for Yasu to be the king still.
the relevant point, my lord, I believe, is that Emperor Menelik II knew that Lydiashu was not suited to be the ruler of Ethiopia, and that is why he instructed his daughter that she must be the ruler after him, and then raise up Rastafari to replace her when she lay down. So it was a clear understanding. It was just Lydiashu would not accept the instructions of his father.
It makes sense.
Menelik,
Yeah.
because to him he had the right, partly because he's male, and the female was not expected to. We all know how the female was looked upon. She was always looked upon as a lesser being. And that is, for me, one of the most powerful reasons. I said that in a lecture, in a reasoning I was given in the ministering houses on camp. There's a video out on it. I said, if there was no other reason for I to heal Rastafari, my God and King, that would stand out, because he broke down that what's the word? I'm looking for a word. My brain does that sometimes. But the deliberate reducing of the woman's place. He stopped that by demanding, and he had to demand that the empress would be crowned with him. And church and state did not want it to happen. They fought against it hard. Which is why in the end, he had to crown the empress himself, because even at the point of the coronation, the Abuna would not crown the empress because it had never been done. So the emperor himself, in order to make that point very clear, the equality of man and woman, he said straight, my wife and I will be doing this work together.
Divine balance, divine balance.
Together. So for me, that was, like I said, if there was no other reason to heal Rastafari, that would be enough for me.
Powerful.
Glorify. We have a few hands raised. Honorable Prophet Corey and John Clarkey, and then Brother Joseph. And so y'all can reason in that order. Now Empress Cindy is next. Corey.
Yes, sir.
My Lord.
Praise for life and life giver. Greetings, royal family. Yeah, I'm not going to take a lot of time. I was just meditating on Amharic now. Even in Amharic, we say conquering lion of the tribe of Judah. In Amharic, they say Moa Anbasa, but in reality, and this is to Empress Petrona's point, it is Moa Anbasa Watch, which means the conquering lions of Judah. So when we're talking about His Majesty, we're talking about the Emperor same way. They're both conquering lions of Judah. True. My Lord Empress.
Thanks, my lord.
True. Enough respect.
Blessed.
Anna.
Thanks, brother. Yes, Jack Clark, you have your hand up, my Lord. Can I mute?
Bless the Lord to the honorable family. Powers. Give thanks to be in class again as a humble student.
Yeah.
My Lord. At this time, we give thanks to the power of the Holy Trinity.
Yes.
We reach to the head, which is, to the governmental order, which is His Imperial Majesty. You know, we're going on touch and just are going to enlighten to some things what God do. Just for a moment, I just want to kind of make it brief now. My Lord, and Empress.
Honorable.
Within the prophecy, my Lord, we know about the 1892, the comment, all the strength with the war, honorable, you know, Josh Allen say, all, you know, all the eye and them straight, we were straight, on the point. You know, but Marcus Garvey say, black man, dive deep now. So we going deep for a little moment today. You know? So I want to share this with the eye and them. My Lord, within the King Emmanuel prophecy and history, my Lord, at that time in Jamaica, my Lord, Revelation 5 come back and show we the 4 beasts was there. Anyone know the 4 beasts, my Lord? Or what the 4 beasts represents? I want to ask the eye and them that cell now. I will come to the point. Just, you know, I just want to come to bring skeptical certain things to enlighten the eye and them, then the 4 beasts.
God is the tabernacle.
Moment.
Black again, out of love.
My Lord.
Yeah,
Bless it, bless it. Give thanks for the...
Go through Jack Clarky.
Yeah, but in the prophecy.
Family.
Yes, my Lord.
Yeah, my Lord, freedom?
Yes, my Lord, go through, honorable.
No, but in the 4 beasts now, just ask the eye and them, like, you know, when we read Revelation 5 and we see the prophecy fulfilling, you know, when the Lamb who was slain was worthy to take the book out of the right hand of the Father, and amongst, you know, it was the 4 beasts and the elders, you know, we see 1966 fulfilled day straight. You know, when Emmanuel was among the 31 leaders of Rastafari, when Jah did visit Jamaica.
Yes.
So we see now the fulfillment of prophecy at that point there now, but I ask if anyone know where is the prophecy with the 4 beasts now.
Honorable, give thanks for the question. For I research, according to the Revelation, the 4 beasts appears to be the 4 nations that ruled prior to I, you see, which was the presence of the different nations, you know, that came to the man, you know, meeting, you know, in 1966. Daniel chapter 2, you know, speaks of these 4 nations, you know, being Persia, it meets the Persians, you know, Romans was the last, which is the same Queen Elizabeth in this time, you see. But the Bible say, you know, the feet will be of iron, you see, which is Rome. The toes is actually iron and clay, which is the 10 kingdoms of Rome right now, which is the same 10 kingdoms that come from the same 4 kingdom descendants coming from Nebuchadnezzar time straight to these times.
True.
Yeah, so the 4 beasts more.
The Honorable Priest Isaac had something on YouTube on his thing about that too as well. So yeah.
Yeah,
my
that's
Lord.
Natural thing.
Honorable Majesty.
My Lord, I just want to say something now to just enlighten the eye. The beast within symbolic really represents nation, but it also represents kings too now. You know, so within the fulfillment now at that time, Jamaica now being the head, you know, which part we know documents was left with His Majesty. Right, with the 4 beasts now who was sitting in Jamaica at that time, which at that time, one, Sir Clifford Campbell, which was the first governor of Jamaica. The second one, Lady Bustamante.
Yes.
The third one, Hugh Shearer.
Yes.
And the 4th one, Hector Winter.
All right.
Natural.
Yeah,
so we watch it now within the prophecy. Now, this same 4 beasts to the royal family, right, is one out of the same man and them, right, who fight His Majesty and ask him to deny divinity as being as God. Now, in 1966, after His Majesty, within the fulfillment of the visit, my Lord, in 69, the Ethiopia, the Jamaica government went to Ethiopia to ask His Majesty to send an ambassador. His Majesty laughed at them.
And then say, have an ambassador already.
And tell him he don't have his ambassador already and he go pay back visit, my Lord.
Yes.
My Lord, in 1970, on the first Thursday, my Lord, His Majesty in January visit the Black Christ. That is the fulfillment, my Lord, which part was a private visit. No one don't know what go on. I want to know if any one of the I was there to fulfill and see that at 1970.
My Lord. Blessed love, my Lord.
Blessed love to the Lord.
I wasn't there, but the closest I got to that moment was from a priest called Priest Rollo. He has
Juby
now
too.
transcended.
Priest Juby.
Well, from Priest Rollo, I sat down behind the gatehouse one day and asked him about that. And he described it to me. Like he was going back into that time and reliving it. And it was fascinating. So one of the first things he said was that the ones around Melchizedek did not know the king. He said they went and told Melchizedek that there was a white man at the gate wanting to see him. And this is as Priest Roller was saying it. He said Dada came out himself to the gate, and because there was a peephole, there was always a little peephole in the gate. When he looked through, he turned back to them and says, "Oh no, king. What wrong with you?"
That one there.
And Dada opened the gate himself and let His Majesty in. It's difficult. They're both Dada and both His Majesty. And he took him into his private quarters, and none of them knew what was said, because no one else was allowed in there.
Natural.
What I said.
Natural. According Royal Empress, give thanks for such beautiful witness. Give thanks for the witness of the
A
elders.
witness.
Yeah, to be
Yeah, but a priest, pray the Yabada wants to, like Jajubi, told us about that visit too.
Yes, I, Mama. Yes, I. You know, at that point in time, they say great honors was bestowed upon the Congress. At that time, great honors was bestowed upon the Congress, 1970. Because at that time, now the fulfillment, now the visit, now that second visit, my Lord, according to prophecy and issue, we could go in the book of Malachi and see it. The Lord now go to a personal visit to the temple now.
Really. 8 months is on and they knew him not. That's another part of prophecy also, you see.
Natural, my Lord, natural. It's sweet, so anybody worries, now more thing to reason. But
Pretty, because my Lord, why they didn't know him? Because they not expect him to come into the color, like they call him white man.
Ignorant is a bliss. Ignorant is a bliss.
Yeah.
Mama, I can say something before I go to the Royal class.
Remember the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said, ignorance will burn down a nation while intelligence will build a nation, So at the end of the day, ignorance is a bliss. So we can't fault the ones who don't have their third eye open to the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. All we can do is walk and talk, just like the Most High, as it dwells within I and I, But His works will live within us. But we are His soldiers and His children. That's why we are called Rasta for I and I.
Priest Roller also said that the king was not dressed royally. He was dressed as an ordinary man.
What's up?
And that could possibly explain them not being able to see the king, because they were always looking at the regala, the royal regala. And when he wasn't wearing the royal regala, he was just like an
That's right.
I have a question for the royal family.
like they really they don't get this thing, a material thing.
My
Majesty.
lord, we have a few hands raised. If you want, just.
Ready, we don't answer.
Was not dressed in royal regala, he dressed as an ordinary man.
Empress Miriam, I like to hear Judge Juby experience. I've heard a lot of prophecies about give thanks, Empress Patrona, for that's the first time I hearing that one.
Me too. Me too. I hear Judge Juby stand up in our reasoning and talk about the visit in 1970. But I didn't hear it like our sister Patrona here. But you see, everyone have a different saying, you know.
That's what I hear his on. I hear your Barbie on. I hear a lot of
Yeah. Yeah, I hear Judge Juby on. I didn't hear Jarola on. But that come to show still, that come to show pretty, that come to show at the time, you know, just like how when Christ did come to the woman in poor and thing, and she tell him send another time for him because, you know, she's preparing to meet the Father. You see it, and Christ appeared to her 3 times, poor, yeah, hungry. Yes, yes, Empress. Yes, Empress. Blessed love.
Blessed.
All right, she must, yeah. So that's how he come now. Christ.
Another
prophet.
Empress.
Empress Maisie.
Yes, my lord.
Blessed love. Even when you look at the accounts of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, every time they give an account about Christ's resurrection, each of their stories or glories was basically slightly different. Because when it's been said, when people look at life, they always look at life through their own spectacle, the way they see it, from the angle they see it. So no one will tell the exact same story.
True, Bobo.
Unless it's a lie, then they repeat it. Yeah. Everybody come and plan what they gonna say, you see?
Yes, and they're gonna put it across. And for each story, whose story going to be the best or closer to the my lord. Give thanks to today, man. Give thanks to the reason.
The man them are same Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Bobby them, you know, the man them are same disciples, you know.
Yeah. But you know that I never
just say we have to test the spirit.
And try the spirit.
So much of our efforts looking at the outside, the material aspect. Just say we could test the spirit, so we could pay more attention to the spirit, what comes out of the person, rather than how they look.
Natural.
Facts.
Give thanks, Honorable.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Give thanks for the testimony of the Honorable Empress Patrona. Give thanks for the elders and the testimony of everyone that was there with him at the same apostles that rise up with him even 2,000 years ago. But yeah, I give thanks. I wanted to touch a little bit on the chronology of the topic we were speaking about His Imperial Majesty Emperor Selassie and Empress Sauditu, even from the time of Emperor Menelik, who was crowned as an emperor with Empress Taitu, and when Emperor Menelik, his health was he was not very good. He had Empress Taitu even take a lot of decisions for the kingdom, and then after after King Menelik, after Emperor Menelik passed away, Ligjasu took the throne for 3 years, from 1913 to 1916. And then it was in 1917 that Empress Sauditu was crowned Empress of Ethiopia, and Tafarai was crowned her regent. But in 1928, Emperor Selassie at that time was crowned Nigos of Ethiopia. And that is another picture that Empress Sauditu is sitting upon the throne, and Nigos Selassie is sitting next to her.
Aha.
Well, now
that one.
That is in 1928, October 7, 1928, when he was crowned Nigos, and he was sitting on the throne with Queen Sauditu. And then when Queen Sauditu passed in April 1930, he waited until November the 2nd to be crowned emperor with Empress Menen. Now I see, now the topic we're talking about, I see it really in the time of Emperor Selassie fulfilling the works of African unity. Because remember, African unity, the organization of the African unity was formed in 1964. And his first visit to Jamaica was in 1966. So he was really bringing the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress as a member of this African unity. He was bringing all African nations together, including the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, and the president of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, whom he anointed as his to fulfill his works as the King of Kings.
The people and making them ready to govern once again in righteousness of salvation.
True. True, because he was the president of an African state who was found worthy to continue with his works on the African unity. That is why His Imperial Majesty Emperor King Emmanuel is also the Secretary General of Human Rights and Justice, which is a title that His Imperial Majesty King Selassie really formed when he formed the League of Nations, and when he formed the African Unity, and when he formed even the Charter of the Human Rights and Justice. It was a title that was formed for King Emmanuel, because he was the only one found worthy in righteousness of salvation. So give thanks for his visit to King Emmanuel, because it really fulfilled Hebrews 7. It really fulfilled the visit of Abraham and the meeting with Melchizedek. So we give thanks for such King of Kings, which really ruled the universe from Cape to Cairo, Timbuktu to Timbuktu, and even all scatter. King Selassie, yeah.
Rastafari. Empress Cindy. Can I be heard? Empress Cindy. Empress Cindy, and then Priest Caswell will be after the
Blessed love, royal family. I just wanted to hail Empress Patrona for highlighting the feminine energy that a lot of people don't often acknowledge. So I just wanted to hail Empress Patrona for what she stated earlier in regards to His Imperial Majesty and Empress Menen. Give thanks.
Blessed love, Empress.
Okay. Yeah.
Bless.
Yes, sorry. All right, please, guys, my Lord, go through.
Yes, yeah, Daniel. I just want to ask the international platform. You all saw a photo going around with His Majesty and Dada. It's a picture seems like they took it somewhere in the camp yard. Anybody else saw that photo and you all think it's authentic or is it a Photoshop?
It's Photoshop, bro.
Okay, respect.
Photoshop, yes, I.
They good at that too. Wow.
It's like how the Photoshop one show a picture of His Majesty watering a plant, and they don't Photoshop it to make it urban. But the original photo it's like a little tree or something he planted, not urban.
Gotcha. Technology.
See it, my Lord.
Why we must ever go below the surface of everything for truth.
Yes, I. True that.
As far as
spirit, always.
I have another question. What about the photo going around where they say His Majesty is moving, through the realms of the priesthood as Abacadus? Anybody have any authentication on that?
I didn't hear. Maybe it was my connection, bro.
Now I was saying there's also a photo of His Majesty that is going around in his priesthood form, as a priest, anybody know of any authentication on that?
Blessed love, my lord.
Majesty.
I do not know of the picture you're speaking of, but I speak as the meditation comes to eye. Haile Selassie I is a priest. In this dispensation,
Gotcha.
he's a priest. He is now a king priest because he come to Melchizedek. Please let me finish the meditation, it's important. Rastafari come to the Caribbean to find his people. He also came to look for someone. Now, as I think it was Brother Joseph said, when the Organization of African Unity was formed and sealed up in 1963, 25th of May, His Majesty had completed the unification of Africa on the continent. Now his next mission was to come and find the Africans who had been taken away so that they could be unified. The only one among them who had never forgotten his creation self was Melchizedek, the one who carried the spirit of Melchizedek. The one from the same one who met Abraham and was what he handed him over, what Abraham handed to Melchizedek was the gathering, the cleansing, and the purging of his people to make them fit, know themselves, who they were, bring forward their memory, because he had the memory. So he would gather them and create a semblance of Ethiopia, a microcosm of Ethiopia and Ethiopian way of life, the ancient way. Now, every embassy in the world is set up to represent its country. If you go into an American embassy anywhere in the world, it looks like Little America. The functions, foods, and everything is American. You go into a British embassy, any embassy you go into in the world, it's a little piece of that country that embassy represents. The brother said earlier, His Majesty handed over his people, the redemption of his people that he'd come for, to that ancient one, to whom he had given the 10% in them times. So that's what he come to fulfill that. Those 10% of the spoil is not money, it's not material things, it's his people. And that's what he did. He set up he set up the embassy to gather and create little Ethiopia in hell, Egypt, Jamaica, to make us ready to be the righteous guardians of Ethiopia. Blessed love, my Lord and Empress.
Bless. Mama Empress Patrona, can I ask you a question?
Truly?
There's a prophecy in the scripture that says the scepter is actually the ruling, the government, the authority. He said the scepter shall not depart from Judah. Judah was the tribe that kept the ruling over Israel from Israel became a nation. And Emperor Haile Selassie himself, Rastafari, is from the tribe of Judah. He came through the lineage of Judah. It says the scepter shall not depart from Judah, which means the scepter, the rulership, the government is leaving Judah. It's passing away from Judah. And he say, it will not pass from Judah until Shiloh. And Shiloh is also interpreted as Melchizedek.
Natural.
So it's actually interpreting that the government, the ruling, the house of Judah will no longer rule over Israel. But Melchizedek government, which is this EABIC government, is now the ruling government of the world, not just even Israel.
Rastafari!
Selassie. So the king come in 1966 to give the government, to give the rulership, to give the authority, to give everything over to King Emmanuel, who is the Melchizedek to fulfill prophecy.
Him come and hand over. Him hand over
to the high priest.
Yes,
high priest. Yes, I.
Yeah. And it also fulfilled the prophecy when the man said, God himself, he shall give, Christ, Jesus Christ, his son, all authority, all power, all rulership, all dominion over all earth. Yeah, 4 corner earth, the man shall rule. And right now, King Emmanuel is ruling. Yeah, 4 corner earth, and even in the tabernacle, it's showed by the 4 banner man, holding the 4 banners of the 4 corners of the earth, to hold back the winds, until these time, till I and I free and redeem, back in, in redemption. So prophecy fulfilling this time, Mama. So give thanks, even for the reason that I bring a clearance that way, So you feel that's how it seal up, Empress Patrona?
Yes, my Lord, that's how the meditation sealed up.
Glorify.
Thanks, y'all, words of, teaching. Who never learning this morning, who never know.
I'll say one thing. This is, you see, all those prophecies have been fulfilled. Now, that means I and I know truth.
Naturally.
So I and I now have no excuse.
No.
Not to do the will of Melchizedek, the Black Christ. If I and I know that that is the only way to fulfill the mission of the King and redeem Africa, then I and I have no excuse.
Royal family, what is a seal? What really is a seal when it says the seal of the King? What really is the seal of Rastafari? Anyone could give a clearance on that?
Yeah, my Lord.
Honorable.
Yeah. Blessed love.
Majesty.
Royalty. Lord and Emperor.
God.
Yeah, my Lord, concerning what Empress Petrina reason concerning about the 10th part of the spoil now. We're linking with everything right now, you know. I come and see that fulfilled 1966, you know, when John lose the seals, you know, which is the sense of perception, you know? The sense of perception, you know. Yeah, man come and know what God is man in flesh and these things come and take place, you know. And she come and say, well, you know, Jah get King Emmanuel the people, you know. A portion of people, a peculiar people, you know, a 1/10 now. You know, and Jah really, and the Black Christ now, everything end up in his hands in 66. The book of Revelation, chapter 5, you know. I wonder what to read a little piece for the eye them still now.
Give thanks.
Sure. Rastafari. Yeah, man. Read from verse 1 still. And I saw in the right hand of him that had on the throne a book written within, and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book, and to loose the seals thereof? And no man in heaven nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And I wept, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders said unto me, weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, had prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb, as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God, sent forth into all the earth. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne. Holy Emmanuel, I. Selassie.
Selassie.
Yeah.
So you come and see, you know, in 66, among the 31 elders, King Emmanuel was esteemed to carry on the work. When the king came in 66, you know, the king come to lose the seals and everything was put into King Emmanuel's hand. To go to the Father, he must go through the Son, the Black Christ. Sabbath, all these things, principles and commands. Because the king is so holy, the rich Mount Zion got to be holy. Out of all the leaders, it's only Black Christ standard alone to really make a rich, holy Mount Zion. So, you know, so we give thanks for the prophecy in 66 was fulfilled. When Jah come and lose the seals, the sense of perception, my Lord. So man could understand and see and hear and know and all these things, the seals, you know, to know who is God in flesh then. Because before 66, enough man, the spirit concept was still strong, you know. But Jah come and give 1/10, the people and all these things. And that portion of people now, Jah open me up, my Lord. And this time you have to really see the truth and know the truth, my Lord. It's only for a peculiar portion, so you know. Jah, Rastafari. Let's love my Lord and Empress.
Yes, my Lord. Give thanks for the clearance, my Lord. Give thanks for the clearance. One more thing I even want to just add on to that, because as I give me a clearance, it make me to see a clearance same time. Because the man say each one teach one, you know. Even the seal the man speak of, you know, the king searched the earth, you know. The king traveled many places, you know, seeking for like a people, like the man say, you know, to live just the word of God, just live the commandments, you know, just keep the Sabbath and, you know, keep the principles of the Bible, understand the prophecy. And the man say he ain't find no one in the earth to actually keep these principles, to live this life. You know what I mean? And when the man come, yeah, and he see, you know, the lamb, you know, you see the man with the robe and the turban teachings, you know, the ancient Israelite teaching, you know. The man see the man portfolio, you know, what he present to the world, you know what I mean, as justice, as, you know, way of life. And the man say, yeah, this is the Christ. So same said, baby, give thanks for even the clearance. You know, one more thing I just seal up, Revelation 7. You know, it speaks of, you know, the same King Emmanuel who received the seal, you know, from the living king, having the seal of the living king, you know, just because remember the man say no one was able to look into the book and read it with understanding. You see, everybody was taking the Bible like from a unnatural perspective, but King Emmanuel see the Bible through a natural, you know, just, you know, to fulfill such prophecy, the man was worthy, you know, to look with it and, you know what I mean, and whole understanding and teach I and I, you know, to how to praise Rastafari, you know, give thanks for the clearance, love.
Give thanks for the strength and to strength, my Lord. Give
My
thanks.
Lord, my reasoning continue. Love, 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 love. Yes, God.
But my Lord. Next hand up was Bobo Brimstone. My Lord, on you. Go through.
Yeah, bless the love, bless the love. Yeah, we you know, as we know, His Imperial Majesty said, "For I glorify the Bible." And, you know, there's different ones out there, so you know, I ordered that you know, as being Rastafari, I ordered the King Selassie Bible. You know what I mean? For not the King James, nothing like that. And you know, for you know, even in the King James Bible, Psalm 68, let it know, you know, verse 1-4, you know, it lets you know, let God arise, let his enemies be scattered. Let them also that hate him, who is him, his imperial majesty, flee before him. As smoke is driven away, so drive them away, as wax melted before the fire. So let the wicked purge at the presence of God. But let the righteous be glad, and let them rejoice before God. Yeah, let them excitedly rejoice. Sing unto God. Sing praises unto his name. What's his name? Jah Rastafari. Exalt him, his imperial majesty, that rideth upon the heavens by his name, Jah, and rejoice before him. It's like I said, it says it in the Bible. You know what I mean? History and prophecy. There's another one right there. I give thanks. And if I could show the Bible, hold on. Still trying to get used to using this Zoom thing. You know?
True. Yes, and like, you know, even from in the 1800s, you know, over here in the West, there was this concept, what they call Ethiopianism, where Black people that were taken away as captives into a strange land saw Ethiopia, which, you know, we know Ethiopia is the name for the continent, not just the country. What used to be known as Abyssinia and is now known as Ethiopia is just one portion of what used to be called Ethiopia. And so there was Black people over here that was, you know, slaves and former slaves that really was looking to Ethiopia from them times, way before even His Majesty was even born, you know, from his mother. So when His Majesty came and ascended to the throne and was crowned 1930, it was really, you know, the fulfillment of all of that prophecy leading up to that, you know, like there was also people that identify with Ethiopianism in South Africa and different parts of the continent through reading different newspapers and through reading the Royal Parchment Scroll, and, you know, which was written by Athley Rogers, I think is his name. Maybe I got the name wrong, but a brethren he was from the Caribbean, but he lived in America anyway. And, you know, so there was prophecy about Ethiopia we know Ethiopia is mentioned in the Bible more than any other country. Ethiopia is the first country mentioned in the Bible. So His Majesty coronation, and it just sealed up all of those things so that ones and ones can know like who it is that the Bible is talking about, and show again the glory of Ethiopia, which kind of, you know, was never forgotten, but He just brought it to the forefront because, you know, Ethiopia back in the day used to extend, as it says in Esther, Ethiopia was, you know, all of Africa, including the Arabian Peninsula and part of India too. So all of that glory that used to be came to really show forward how great Ethiopia was, and they never lost that greatness, but they just kind of, you know, wasn't as known because of Rome, which Rome we know is their biggest competition. You know, the Pope, he would love for himself to be the root of David, but we know that he's just the impersonator, the imposter. So His Majesty just came to clarify all of that, you know, and really to show the world why Ethiopia was so, you know, important then and why it's so important now, being that, you know, the throne of David is still there, the Ark of the Covenant is still there. So, you know, without His Majesty being crowned, the world probably wouldn't know these things. And the Rastafari movement in general has even brought it all to the light of everybody too, you know, because more so than any Ethiopian citizen or anything like that, like Rastafari is what made Ethiopia be known, what made those colors red, gold, and green be widely known around the world, you know. And that's all through His Majesty, because when he was crowned in 1930, it just, because of the fulfillment, because of the elders who was able to, you know, read the scriptures and him and Marcus, which, you know, it said that he wasn't actually the one who said it, but it came from, you know, members of the UNIA still, and he even championed this, that we should look to the east for the crowning of a black king, and he should be our redeemer, you know. So His Majesty just fulfilled all of that prophecy, and like I said, brought Ethiopia, the anciency of Ethiopia, to the forefront of the world through his grand coronation, you know, inviting all of those countries there for them to take video and take picture and to see, you know, how great Ethiopia really is, and to understand who he is and what the throne of Ethiopia really represents in the whole world, you know. Because the king of Israel is the king of the entire world still, but Israel's king is also Israel's God, you know. So for him to be our God, and Africa and African people are the first, is really to say that he is the first king of the world, you know. He is the Word, you know, made flesh. So even before any of these other nations even existed, Ethiopia existed. And His Majesty being the first, Haile Selassie the first, but also he was the last ruler of Ethiopia before, because he set up a constitution and he set up a parliament in his own country, because he knew what the world was moving towards, being that all the other countries were getting rid of their, you know, their monarchy and really coming into, like, say, democracy and all of these different things. His Majesty knew that his people also would want to participate in more modern type of governorship. So he just set the country up for, you know, the future, really. But yes, I ain't gonna talk too long. Just wanted to throw in those little points there and really show the significance of his fulfillment of prophecy and his bringing of Ethiopia forward to the forefront where it's right, you know. Yes, I.
Give thanks, Jah Daniel. That was powerful.
No, give thanks. Yes, I.
Yes.
The floor is open again still.
Prophet Daniel, my lord.
Majesty.
I'm always taking things to the next level.
Pardon?
I'm always taking things to the next level.
Yes, I.
Now, blessed love God, His Majesty Haile Selassie I established Ethiopia to the world in all its anciency and all its grandeur and all its majesty. He proved to the world that the ruler of Ethiopia is also a diplomat among diplomats. So we have to move to the next level. The world knows His Majesty. The world knows Ethiopia now. So we have to move to the next level. Why did he come down here and find the high priest? Because none of his people were ready to govern Ethiopia as Ethiopia should be governed, in righteousness of salvation. Because that's really what's important. All the grandeur and all the treasures and jewelry, and if the people are not living righteously, they count as nothing, because the people will be heading for destruction anyway. Mm-hmm. So he come for the one who never forgot, as the people did, because he knew they'd forgotten themselves. They didn't know who they were. He knew, but they didn't. So he come to find the only one who among them who did not forget. So the only way to move to the next level, to move Ethiopia forward, is to do the will of the one who never forgot. That's why the man left his palaces, his beautiful country, and came down here into the pit of hell, where his people had been brought to that state, that hellish state, the Caribbean basin. And only through that man, he set up the place, and he said, in this place, gather the people and make them once again gods and goddesses of earth. And then they will be fit to govern Ethiopia as gods and goddesses of earth. Blessed love, my Lord.
Glorify. Yeah, I wanted to correct myself. The author of the Royal Parchment Scroll of Black Supremacy is Fitz Ballantyne Petersburg. Just to make that clear, that was in the 1920s he wrote that.
All Ethiopians who are serious about Ethiopia and truly know Ethiopia as home and know themselves because they've got the teaching, they heard the words, and want to be those gods and goddesses of earth again, must go through the process of doing the will of the ancient one who never forgot, to whom the conquering Lion of Judah handed over his people. And that really is where we're at.
Yes, sir. Okay, and the Royal Parchment Scrolls of Black Supremacy was really, not to say plagiarized version, but it was like it used a lot of the information from the Holy Pibi, which was the original document that was written by Robert Athley Rogers. I think I'm saying his name properly.
That's it.
Yes, Honorable. So I was just stating those facts just so we could know that the Rastafari movement is a continuation of Ethiopianism, and really Haile Selassie is like the fulfillment of the Ethiopian. He brought the Ethiopianism to a point where all of what they were saying about Ethiopia was now fulfilled and no longer just prophecy, but actually now history. Yeah, so yes, my Lord, glorify, give thanks, and go through Priest Cadwell. Sorry.
Haile. Yes, Empress, royal family. Yeah, the king sent us to the Bible because it's very significant for us to understand what's really happening. When the king said the scepter will leave Judah and go to Shiloh, it was actually saying that the Judah government, the government in Ethiopia is going to shut down. The throne room, all of that Solomonic dynasty, that's the end of it. The king is the last king to sit upon that throne. That's why he never gave the throne to none of his children. He never gave it to his cousins. No one could succeed the throne because that's the end of the Solomonic dynasty. The 12 tribe concept is done away with. In the book, in Revelation chapter 7, Revelation chapter 7 said that there was another angel came with the seal of the living king. And he chose 12,000 from each of the tribes out here in the West. Because remember, we start off with the Nyabengi house, with the 12 tribe of the Nyabengi house. Then King Emmanuel rise out of that, which is the man with the living seal of the king. King Emmanuel is that angel. He rise in the Bengi house, and he out of the 144,000 of Bengi, he pulled 12,000 of each of the tribe, Reuben and Simeon and all that stuff. And if you notice, enough people still today, they'd be saying, which tribe you from? I from Levi, and I from... No, see, King Emmanuel done away with that. He fulfilled prophecy in Revelation 7. Yeah, when he come and he gather, and this is significant. Let me just seal up. This is significant because the actual rulership of the earth, that's what I'm telling you, the kingdom of the earth is no longer the Solomonic dynasty is no longer that setup what is in Ethiopia. When we go in Ethiopia and we set up the EABIC, the campground, when we set up the Emmanuel throne room, when we set up the tabernacle with the mercy seat, that right there is Selassie throne. That's the only throne in the world the man approved is King Emmanuel throne. What King Emmanuel set up in Egypt, Jamaica, that's what Selassie, that's the Son of God. The Bible says, for God, Jarastafari, so loved the black world that he gave us his begotten son, King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. Whoever believe on him shall not perish. So what that mean? Everybody else who don't bow to King Emmanuel throne, a judgment, plague and lava and judgment and thunder and heart attack. Yeah, that's what Black Moses bring to Egypt. Yeah, King Emmanuel now. Yeah, and who is this King Emmanuel? King Emmanuel say, when you see yourself, you see the Christ. Selassie, Rastafari. The chant down Babylon, the chant down Britain and America, the chant down Nebuchadnezzar kingdom, the chant down the evil white world with lightning, thunder, earthquake, and fire. Why the man tell Britain and he tell judgment, Putin, and he tell all these leaders, he said the biggest sparkle ship can't save them. Yeah, because the earthquake will open and swallow in this time from the 7 priest chant. That is Christ in flesh. That's 7 Christ. And the man said, if 1 Christ chase 1,000, 7 Christ, it chase 70,000. Emmanuel is 7. Don't my God, Rastafari. So I must know ourselves in this time that we ruling. It's our ruling now. The EABIC is ruling. Ain't no other government above our government. King Emmanuel is right. Government above all government, people above all people, now and now. Holy Emmanuel eyes, Selassie, Rastafari. Black again, love, love, love.
Just an interjection, my lord.
Yes, Mama.
7 man of right on the altar will bring forth them judgment.
Say again, Mama.
7 man of right on the altar will bring forth them judgment.
7 times tried in the fire. Never get burned, never bow, never vote.
Not men wearing robe and turban and living any which way they like. That's not
natural. Wheat and tares, harvest day.
A harvest day, my lord. You know, see where Babylon.
We run them out. Yeah, suspension, extension. 33-man parliament. We run them out of the kingdom. Time come, Jesse.
Yeah. Even in regards to like throne and things, it's like both His Majesty and King Emmanuel both establish parliament, for the people really to rule. It's really, if ones is looking for somebody to come and sit on the throne again, you might be waiting for a while because, it's like, because God didn't really establish it for him to do all the work always, It's one's for us.
Daniel.
Maybe saying something. I didn't cut nobody. It's for us to really see God in ourselves and to rule as a people, not to look for one man to carry the cross while everybody else is, speculating and, skeptical and criticizing. The same person who's doing the good for you is the same person that, most of the people, like how in Ethiopia, they wanted to get rid of him, the same person who did all of the modernizing. It took them from dirt roads and no television, no phone and all of that stuff, no hospitals really, no airport, no airline, no plane, I don't know what you call it. Anyway, they didn't have like their military was not so strong, all of that stuff. And he brought it up to the level that it was when he left. And the same people he did all of this good for, the next generation, they wanted to get rid of him. So, it's like you can't really look for like this whole God coming out of the sky to come sit on the throne again. It's for people really to really rule themselves by living it right, Righteousness of salvation is not one man maintaining righteousness. It's for all of us, to live up and really love each other and treat each other right. That's because, even when King Emmanuel was on his throne there in Jamaica, and when Haile Selassie was on his throne in Ethiopia, you still had war. You still had people, you know, treating each other bad, right up on. I mean, even the same person, the same man who's sitting on the throne, the people he's doing this good for, they're all behind his back, you know, trying to, you know, gain power and overthrow him. Or so, you know, it's not really, in my opinion, and if I can be corrected, I would stand for correction. But I see the move to establish a parliament as giving the power to the people. As he said, the voice of the people is the voice of God, you know? A lot of us, we have a way where we're still looking for some God to do something else. It's like, as we say, he laid the foundation and opened wide the door. What more can niggas do? Why are we looking for somebody else to do more? We have to do it now. It's for us to take it up. Yeah, for us to keep writing the letters, for us to live right amongst ourselves, for us to be able to give ourselves justice, for us to love one another. Them basic things that we say we're supposed to be able to do with our principle sheet and with our constitution. If we can't do that, there's nobody on the throne that's going to do that for us.
Yep.
Yeah, Honorable Daniel. One thing the king did do for us, you know, His Majesty and both King Emmanuel, the man show us say we shall share in his glory, you see. So the man say first we must be willing, we must be able, and we must be ready. Then another thing the man says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, then all things will come be added to I and I. So from we seek the righteousness and understanding the King Emmanuel kingdom, King Emmanuel gave us the ability to share in the glory as King same that way. Through the church, through the priesthood, from a man Billy self to the priesthood, and he Billy self the leading priest, the man will have an opportunity to sit on the mercy seat, to sit as a merciful king to the people. Anyone in the Congress could rise themselves as a god, pretty different from the empress. As the gods, they could rise themselves to be this king status. In the tabernacle, same set way, even in the government. If you study the government carefully, that's why the man said what you call the chair. If you study the Constitution says that the Parliament is the governing authority of the Congress. So which means the person that sits in the chair actually is the head authority of the whole Congress. Governmentally, besides the president, which is King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. So because our chair rotates, that means any king or any god could come Billy self from a prophet to a priest, to a leading priest. He had to actually come and sit as a chairman, sit as a king, sit as a governing authority. So Jack give us the ability to share in the glory, same way. So the people does run the world. The people does run the government. It's just following the protocol and, you know, rising and understanding what how the man kingdom run. It's just different than Babylon. Go through my Majesty, bless.
Yes, sir. Give thanks, Honorable.
Majesty, give thanks. Yes, sir. Freedom.
From creation.
I just want to go back on what the Honorable Prophet John Daniel was saying when he said, you know, the voice of the people, you know what I mean? I like to say this when I read the word. In the beginning was Jah, with Jah was the word, and the word became flesh. You know what I mean? So again, that goes with everything, science, math, you know, everything is connected. You know what I mean? In the beginning was Jah. Where Jah spoke, it was done. And it was the word, and the word became flesh. So we are the voice, just like God Daniel was saying. We're speaking the word of his imperial majesty, you know. We want the teachers of his imperial majesty, not the devil's philosophy. Bless it.
Honorable family, same said way, keeping in mind, when we say the people is the voice of God, which people? We're not talking of people of the world. See, King Emmanuel give us another teaching. King Emmanuel say, out of one, come many, come all. You see? Same said way. The reason why King Emmanuel say that is that he teach the people first how to speak, how to have a voice. It was King Emmanuel teachings that give us the voice of righteousness, the voice of justice, the voice of redemption. And when we
True,
speak his words, when we speak King Emmanuel words, when we speak Emmanuel teachings, then that's the voice of God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And right.
Just want to keep that in
Blessed.
mind. Yeah, to
Yeah,
separate.
yes. And
Yes,
I agree with you. That's why we reason it and we're speaking of the voice of God, because we are his children, we are his vessels. Blessed.
Give thanks. Yes, I majesty. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Honorable Josh Seek, Prophet Sheldon, my Lord, you could unmute.
Yes, my Lord, bless the love, Honorable. Honorable priest, yeah, man, give thanks. Concerning seek the kingdom of God, and all things shall be added, you know. Concerning the book of Daniel now, the book of Daniel, the prophecy in the book of Daniel, it shows about four kingdoms. It shows the last kingdom becoming now will be the fifth kingdom.
Yes, sir.
In 1930 now, Jack kingdom got established on earth. The king, the empress, Alpha and Queen Omega, that crown. We see the prophet, we see the priest. Now the Black Christ now, only government now have no end. You come and see the last kingdom right up in this time here, right now. The world, the Black Christ kingdom. I hear King Manuel reason our speech. I hear our speech when King Manuel reasoning, he say, on this speech he say, don't make no move at this time. He say because the king came back and sit on his throne. So last times King Manuel himself said that. He say Marcus came back into the world. He say himself coming again. So I hope in these words, you know, when I hear it from the Black Christ himself speak it now.
I.
So, you know, so we give thanks for the fifth kingdom, which is still, you know, rising, my Lord. Upon this kingdom, there's no end, my Lord. Rastafari.
Yes,
Jack Carlton, my Lord, you had your hand raised. On mute. Jack Carlton, yes, sir. Bless you.
Give thanks again for another reasoning, you know, going through. Love to one and all, peace and blessings, you know. Going through the nation, you know, near and far. You know, listening to the topics going through, you know, I had to kind of recap and see who, you know, what the topic is, and it's, you know, Selassie. So, you know, I did want to kind of touch on something earlier, but I had to listen in a bit more. But I did tune in when they were talking about His Majesty's private visit, I believe, you know. So, yeah, you know, a lot of things, you know, have to be clarified and, you know, really set straight. And we give thanks that, you know, ones are on here willing to listen and share, you know, learn a better experience, you know, because everything has to match up, you know. Yeah, going back to the king now, you know, the King Selassie, you know, has done great things, you know, a lot of things have been mentioned, you know. Glad to hear, you know, a lot of views, you know, within the anciency of Ethiopia, bringing it back. And, you know, the monarch has always been there, you know, 2,000 plus years. But King Selassie, you know, in that final time, brought it forward in a way, you know, something different, given the current climate, you know, out there, you know, with this white supremacy out there. So he had a big challenge, which we all know. I mean, we all face that challenge as Black people, but, you know, especially as a Black leader, a Black king, you know, so there's many things he set himself differently, you know, and those are the things I, as Rastafari, you know, it really take us out and create the movement, you know, because the movement could have started, you know, with anyone before as a Black leader. But what Selassie I did is the differences, you know, show him as that perfect man, you know, to really elevate us all, you know, in the West and all over the world, you know, to show who this man is and bring forth the nation back again to what its former glory, you know, which we have spoken on, because Ethiopia had been forgotten, you know, by the world, even by Black people, because I have been taken away. We don't know our history, you know. We just know about King George and these people. That's why Marcus did even enlighten us, you know, and show us that we can't be praising King George and these people there. we have a king for ourselves, which, he's still learning about, and he's a man still. Another point, well, really, before I go forward, I find, Daniel did touch on it there, say, he's left the power with us, and I won't even say left the power with us, because he came and give us the power while he was there. I think it's now a lot of us realizing that the power was there for us, We are the kings, we are the queens, we are the prophets. That's why he called us that, He called us prophet and priest, empress, all these glorious things, because that's what we call him. That's what we call his nation, That's what we look upon him, and he bestowed that back onto us, So with Selassie, it's been touched on that, he come to the West, at a certain time and now, after going through enough tribulation, when the kingdom, even changing the name back to Ethiopia, from Abyssinia, to bring that anciency, to make people remember, like you could go in the Bible and see Ethiopia, so many places you could go and hear this great name. It's got more history. And I now, as people really now, is really good for us to look at the attributes of the King, of the Christ in him, and take that upon ourselves, and do the works really, because a lot of us are just sitting back and using this, this glory of the King, and we have to really be doing what the King wanted us to do, is to raise up I and I as a nation and bring us together, So even I and I as Bobo Shanti, I find that, a lot is on King Emmanuel, especially the elders who were there with him, because I believe a lot of them didn't really know the power was in them. A lot of them came from Christianity and didn't really fully understand, didn't thought that King Emmanuel would live in that flesh forever. And, now are forced to come to the realization, a lot of people are still, not coming to the realization that, the job is for us to do. And that Christ in Emmanuel is one stepping stone to the Christ within us, So we have to really take that power and, come together and reason, find out what is right and what is wrong, what is superficial, what is fake, what is out of this world. Because a lot of these things are holding us back and making us think that, we could sit down there and wait for a God to come out the sky and wait for this. But Selassie never waited for nothing, Marcus never waited for nothing. And King Emmanuel definitely didn't wait for nothing, But these three men there now, this is my opinion, I don't really want to, I believe that these flesh have passed on and we have to do the work now, So give thanks again, for the King, as the head, as the King of the Trinity, also with the Queen, because we're not denying the Queen is a balance, male and female. Because even before man was created male and female, So from we say man, we say woman, So give thanks for the King and Queen, crown the same time. Come to remind us, and we can't forget that is in history books, no matter what we do, the King is there, and the King has to live in us now, and we have to, show that side there, that positive man of right, God in flesh, So give thanks, my Lord and Empress, just my 2 words at the moment.
Glorify, honorable prophet.
Love and peace, going through.
Yes, I give thanks for the words, God.
My Lord.
Honorable. Yes, Majesty. I want to give a little word on the clearance on why the King established Ethiopia. It's really significant when the King say he glory in his part in the Bible. The King was very aware of what was about to happen based on prophecy. He knew that Rome was setting up their kingdom and setting up their false United Nations, their false states. At that time, every country in Africa, most that was developed, they was only developed through colonialization. So in order for the King to secure his place in the league, secure himself a place where he can judge the earth, judge the nations, he quickly paid advancement and repeat, he quickly paid attention to the advancement and establishment of Ethiopia to make sure it has the qualifications to be considered a state. Once Ethiopia became a state, it was only them that he could make his move into the League of Nations. And from there, he judged the nations. And he told them that his word to them that today is for him and the many nations, sovereign nations that suffered their greed. He said, but tomorrow will be for them, you know. So that's the real reason that the king made Ethiopia modernized, not so much as to on a carnal, you know, trying to meet the expectations of the world from a carnal perspective, but it was a legal requirement, you know, for him to establish Ethiopia to the status that it became in order for him to become a part of the league and be able to do what he had done, you know. Well, Emmanuel, Selassie, Rastafari, bless.
My Lord, where you get that idea, that concept that was why he modernized the country?
Again, when we follow the king, you understand, when we follow his works, the things that he's done, it has to line up with prophecy. As the elder was saying earlier, in the book of Daniel already spoke about the 4 kingdoms that was reigning even then when the king came. Because if you notice, Menelik II, he never established Ethiopia to a state because he was not a part of the prophecy. He was not the king of the kings. He was not the emperor who's supposed to come and, you know, so that's all I'm trying to say. The only way you have to, the way you'll be able to see it is through prophecy and history. That's what King Emmanuel teaches us. When we know it, when we study history, then we study the prophecies of the Bible, and then we see it in flesh. The king manifests Revelation 5. He manifests Revelation 7. Revelation 5, same said with the establishment. You know, the throne, the man sat on the throne and all this stuff to fight the beast. You know, that goes further on in Revelation. What beast he speak of? He speak of the beast with the 10 horns and the little horn that come out of them, which is America. You see, Britain and America, which is the same thing, King Emmanuel. So it's all prophecy. So that's how we see the efforts and the works of the king. Because one more thing I can say before I leave it, the king says, the efforts that we make that make grand changes in life are verily seen or known. So the things that people speak about and write about about his majesty is not even really the true works that he did. You know, the works I speak of, I tell you of, the fulfillment of prophecy. You know, the man establishing the country to the state where he could become a part of the league. You understand? Because, yeah, a country that doesn't have a state, you don't have a government, you know, you don't have no representation. Like, I hope it's not us, but we got to get ourselves together. We have to have our government, have our representation. Then, yeah, we could go to United Nations and we could judge them. Yeah, we could deal with them. We could take all these people to court, that King Emmanuel have in court, get our money, yeah, and go home and drink wine and corn, eat corn. Yeah, so it's not too hard, you know, but we can do it. We shall do it, Marcus say. John, Marcus says. Yeah.
This as well.
Rastafari. Yes, Mama, bless.
Yeah, my Lord, give thanks again, man. Good reasoning. Yes, I glorify, you know. You mentioned money. Which money we are gonna get? Not the money card that I say any money for go Africa, you know. Wait for we down there. We don't want no money here.
Exactly.
Which money?
Yeah. Every money we deal with, that's why I was saying, even I see people have different things going on, but yeah, the Bank of Abyssinia is our bank, you know, that all reparations, all these things.
And all our reparation money go down there. We don't want them to spend back in the Babylon. I can't go home and spend it.
Natural, almost
Oh,
natural, yeah. All
spread up for yard and thing
in Africa. And the man even also say we're not to go to Africa by make migration scheme. So we're not also going to Africa to develop their cities and their towns.
But him said that too, say who can go, Jackass, him say who can go on, you know, and go on down to go agitate PNI back here. But what he man, there's a repatriation, the ship. 7 to 9 miles, 13 or 21, whatever it take to take us home. That is what, you know, we want.
Yes,
but
Mama.
Him say, who can go still, you know? Yeah, never stop. Him say, who can go? who can find a fare and can make it home and then stay and agitate to the government, them there in Africa and back here in the West. But I and I, repatriation. Yeah, my Lord.
Give thanks for the
and man. Good reasoning. Glorify
Yes,
my
Mama.
Lord, blessed love.
And all these things can happen, Mama, once the parliament come together, and you know we reconnect with the AU now. You know we gather our connections with the AU. We have good relationships with Liberia. We have good relationships down in Ghana. So once the office up and running, we get things going. Then we get delegations. So these things is is not impossible. Like, Honorable Priest Justice was talking about March 8th. He wants to gather to come down to help, carry out the government. So give thanks for the positive
March
things.
8th? What happened March 8th?
I might have heard wrong.
March 1st.
March
Have to
1st.
be March 1st, yes.
Thanks for the correction. Thanks for the correction.
Yes, my Lord.
Yeah, so with these things coming together, definitely, these the small things, because I was even telling ones during the 2020 plague, when Moses first plagued them. The evil white world gets so scared. They had this wine company in Europe that had plantations down here in the West for years, and they was asking, any establishment, this was on the news, they was asking any establishment that like have slave, awareness, and they want reparations, they can, reach out to them and stuff like that. And it was a lot of there's opportunities, Jah, things, Jah waking things out for us. We just have to do what we have to do, love yourself, love
But
yourself.
it's our time now. Because even the other day, I hear that Germany get some reparation,
Yes.
So it's our time now, forget ours.
Yes. And that's how we can automatically become the rulers of, not the rulers, but more the caretakers of Africa, because Jah teaches hungry be fed, naked clothed, sick nourished, age protected. So with that in mind, once we get our reparation, is to uplift Africa, uplift the people, and this is the thing we must make the governments to know. We ain't coming to struggle Africa. We ain't coming to strain Africa.
To build it, to build Africa.
Africa, we
teach about the people.
We ain't coming to struggle. That's why I just say don't go by migration scheme. Don't go down there looking for a job and asking the government for asking the government for aid. No, man, no more like that. Move with a delegation where our government, we could come together. We could put $1 if 144,000 sinks elect. You sure of that? Yeah, that's $144,000 every weekend. If everybody give $1, that should take care of any delegation.
Yeah, did you know that? Did you know that? That'll tell us.
The baby talking, Mama, we let him up. Baby talk.
Yeah, the baby I talk for film part to talk, to keep and suckling. Know you mean? Yes. Friends like sons at the show. Talk, mama or papa, whatever, prince or princess. Yeah, the father even say, no, we are going to, we for carry all with tool and carry on things too, Like, man. I remember when the brethren, when them that go down in Africa, they bring a barrel of tool, man. See it and tell it in my family, say, carry your machine, go down and do your craft work and thing, man. Because we are going to build back Africa. See it, she said, not now go on. Them are going to after wait when I and the saints come home. What you mean? Most eyes, Selassie,
All
right. Give thanks, man. Glorify the reasoning.
Yeah, he, his commandment to the Rastafari when he came to Jamaica was organized and centralized, And through, just like how the priest was just saying, like, he had to organize and centralize Ethiopia to be able to be the defender of our faith and, to be able to represent the smaller nations, because it's not just Ethiopia he represents when he go and speak to the League of Nations and the OAU. He represents every poor and have not.
Well,
so he,
the world
organize and centralize the country. It's our job to also continue to organize and centralize ourselves. Like the President said, the parliamentary committee and all of these things, to be able to properly agitate for our rights and represent ourselves. It's like when we don't do these things, we're really not keeping this commandment. You know, we're not. You know,
My Lord.
Even though we're supposed
I
to
can
be.
put up my hand, Daniel.
Pardon?
Pardon me. Pardon me for not putting up my hand because me don't know how.
Okay.
But this is how I get in my
Hey,
door.
Nas, how you doing? This
All
is Ron with
this.
Florida in Medora. Please
All
give us
what
a
we
call
are
back.
saying here,
548-0.
Majesty, my Lord and Empress, all what we are saying here, nothing isn't too hard for us to do as a people, but we just have to come together. If we are not coming together, if we don't listen to the other speech, and every time the man talking about what? Unity, working together, yeah?
Yeah.
In one accord. Now, if we as a people who know all these history, know all these right about our king, our priest, and our prophet, and our queens. Now, if we, the children of the Most High God, doesn't come together and work together in one accord, then we have a long way to know. Because nothing divided cannot go, cannot enter. So as long as we are divided here in the West, and as long as we doesn't come together as a people, right? Then we have a long wait. So it's better for us to start to work and work right now and come together in one accord, in one unity, and in one love, and stop the dividing.
Well, that's why
amongst
we're here.
ourselves.
That's why we're here, you know, because through reasoning and proper education and things like that, we build a love for ourselves and for each other, you know, because usually it's the same people that come on here, you know, and we get to know each other better. And that's, I mean,
yeah, I love that.
that's how organized.
Yeah.
I agree,
that.
Daniel. I agree. You know,
I love that, man.
They say what?
Them.
Communication builds connection. Bless it.
Yes, sir.
Royal family black again. Bless.
It don't always have to be a big.
Sorry, Daniel.
Pardon. Yeah, I know I didn't really get to finish what I was saying, but I was just, you know, even something like this and the music class and whatever other things that we do together, that's, you know, before we see like the big picture, we want to be all the way organized and have this and this and this, but if we can't do basic stuff together, there's no way we're going to do no huge, you know, moving ourselves to other countries and establishing, you know what I mean? So we can't do basic things like this, like reasoning, then all that other stuff is just way too big for us. You know what I mean? Because other people of the world, they have their differences. Like say European nations, they don't really love each other. But when it comes to conquering the world, they come together. They forget about all their hate for each other and focus their hate on everybody else. We can't get together because of the petty differences that they put in our head through plantation life, you know, and Jim Crow and all of these things. So we don't like each other from a different country or with lighter skin or with different hair or whatever the case, all these different, you know, reasons why and even within, you know, when we have these bodies like say the EABIC, you have even division and something like that. So I mean, it don't mean we all got to be best friends, you know what I mean? Because like I said, Europeans, they're not friends with each other. But when it comes to business now, and when it comes to them defending their white supremacy, they'll put all of that other stuff aside. We have to get to that same level where it don't matter if I don't like you. You know what I mean? It don't matter what you did in the past, really, to an extent.
Yeah.
But when it comes to us, you know, agitating for our rights and for repatriation and reparations, them type of things, we just have to put everything else aside and just, you know, look and just do work, you know.
For sure. Sure. Good reason.
And have a basic love for each other still, even though I don't like you, doesn't mean I can't love you, you know. If you see that you or my brother or sister that I don't really get along with you, but you need help and I can help you without, you know, hurting myself or giving up my integrity, then I should be there to help you, you know. Yeah,
so
that's type of the confraternity that Marcus Garvey was trying to establish. It's like, you know, and King Emmanuel to continue it, is like they know that we as a people, we have to have this love for self and this love for each other in order for us to really be what it is that we're supposed to be. And if we can't get that basic principle of love, which hangs all laws and prophets' commands, then we don't stand a chance. You know what I mean? We just out here, and all the other nations are going to continue exploiting us, and we'll just be mad about it and do nothing because we can't come together for the most basic of things, you know? Yeah. Anyway, I turn it
So
over
true.
to someone else can speak.
Blessed Majesty, royal family. You know what is very important for us to come together is to not to actually forget the reason why we here together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I first come to King Emmanuel because we was lost in sin. He just took us in. He showed us the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How he show us the way is very significant. That's why even in the Congress, you know, there is a lot of misunderstanding because not, you know, didn't do the time to get the understanding. You know, in order for you to be a smart student, you have to attend school. And when you attend school, you got to pay attention in order for you to learn. So you could teach, so you could know. See, many come to the Congress, they visit the camps. They go in the camp for a weekend. They go there for a week. When they go there for a month, they probably rarely go to roll call. They rarely go to the service. Some who live right in the camp rarely go to the service, rarely go to the roll call. So it's about understanding what's really happening. Out in the world, when we born of our parents and our family, we only taught colonialism. We're not really taught how to live right with ones and ones. When we come to God yard, it's through the roll call. It's through the principled sheep. It's through following the ways of the man, living with the man, living around the man, living among the angels. And the empress them and ones to help build out that colonialism so we can live better with one another. But if everybody ain't coming to roll call, nobody interested, you know, there's no, especially no suspension. That's very important. Because anytime ones feel they can do what they feel like and don't get suspended, then that's way the Congress have trouble moving on. It's like having a hole in the boat and you refuse to patch it.
Yes,
The boat keep leaking and then we can't move forward. So it's all these things that make us able to unite. We cannot unite like how we think we could just mysteriously unite by just saying it. Oh, we need to organize and centralize. Yeah, we need to just come together. That just is not going to happen. Because through slavery, they taught us not to come together. And then if you ain't been on Emmanuel roll call, if you ain't been on that roll call line long enough to watch that colonialism, and keep going, because you have to keep going. You can keep washing. Yeah, keep washing the colonialism. Then we never come together. Those
Jim Crow.
Yeah, those who wash themselves, we just come together. We wash one another foot. We loving one another, like Jah Daniel say, right? Yeah, we loving one another. You could see the principle. Yeah, but the continual building. Yeah, we ain't reaching. A man said the race was never for the swift, you know. So if you came to the camp and you build yourself and you go on your altar and you think you do everything you're supposed to do, you just get started. Because now it's the endurance. It's the long suffering. It's keeping it.
Yes,
That's what Christ did. Well, Emmanuelized. Selassie.
Yeah.
That's all right. Love.
Yeah, as I read earlier, I'll read it again, you know, to speak to what Priest Caswell was just saying. When he was talking to the League of Nations, and this we could apply to our Congress, we have a principle sheet, you know, we have words to tell us, govern us, and know how, you know, teach us how to live amongst each other, right? But here, I'll just read it. He said, but these two, as were the phrases of the covenant, are only words. Their value depends wholly on our will to observe and honor them and give them content and meaning. Right? So he said it's just words. Unless we really give a heart for a kingdom and we really want to see this thing like go be what it's supposed to be, it never will be. It's just a bunch of nice words with no content and no meaning because the people don't live to the principles. You know what I mean? So the principles don't do it alone. It's for us to have the heart to want to do it and to make sure that we carry it out. You know what I mean? And anytime there's he continues, I'll read the rest of it. The preservation of peace and the guaranteeing of man's basic freedoms and rights requires courage and eternal vigilance. courage to speak and act if necessary, to suffer and die for truth and justice, eternal vigilance, that the least transgression of the international morality shall not go undetected and unremedied. These lessons must be learned anew by each succeeding generation, and that generation is fortunate indeed which learns from other than its own bitter experience. So, you know, like how we have elders on here that can tell us about the successes and the failures of the Congress and of individuals and things like that. We, the younger generation, we have to learn what it is that they did wrong or what they did that didn't work. And don't keep doing the same thing. Do something different that actually works according to the time, you know, and according to what situation we're currently in. But the principles and things is just words. If we're not going to live to it, it's just words. And it really makes us, in any situation, if you have principles that you say you are going to govern yourself with and you don't live to them, it makes you, you know, to look kind of foolish, you know, because you the one that said that you want to live to them principles. Nobody is holding a gun to your head and saying you got to do this. Everybody come as a volunteer Ethiopian. So if we come and volunteer ourselves to give ourselves wholeheartedly to salvation, you know, then it doesn't make sense that we don't live to the principles, you know, because we set the principle for ourselves. We accept it. And we make it look foolish when we don't live to it, but we call ourselves the titles and, you know, want the respect of this and want the respect of that, but you're not living to none of it. Yeah, so, it's just a reality, you know, His Majesty know that these European nations that write these treaties and write these different covenants and documents, they break them, you know what I mean? They don't live to them. They just write it and it sounds good and it makes them look good, but they violate every treaty that they ever write and sign. You know what I mean? They never respect anybody. Ever, except money. That's it. That's all they respect. So glorified, the floor is open again still. I just wanted to share that to really point to what Priest Caswell was saying and really give His Majesty's, you know, is the word of right on the subject, you know, having words, covenants, and all of these things, but not living to it doesn't make sense.
Gotcha. Yes, right, family. Black again.
Yes, sorry.
Another thing among I see, like, it sometimes come common, like the expectations, you know, that we set for each other, you know, is one thing King Emmanuel teaches us, you know, is to mark the perfect man, the end of the man is peace. Why that I really teach I is true. All us coming out of colonialism, imperialism, and, you know, even though you'll have a one as a priest, or you'll have a one as a leading priest, or you'll even have an elder empress, or you'll have an elder, you know, king, elder prophet, you know, it's still a purging, you know. We're not really here to, like, mark each other. We mark Emmanuel to strengthen each other, you see? Because, you know, it always, even on the altar, you know, ministering, you know, you'll have a priest who's doing that for years. And just one day he just may, you know, make a little error. You know, that's not to say he's not a priest, you know, that's really just to say he's not, that's just natural, you know, for correction. And see, Jah love that. Jah love correction. Correction is such a sweet thing. Correction is what creates it, what allows us to be inventors and all these different things. It's just true correction. If you keep doing, like you say, Jadan, if we keep doing the same thing, you ain't gonna get no change. But when we correct, you know, as we correct, even I and myself is difficult, but when we bring correction to ourselves, yeah, that's a sweet thing. It gives us better, you know, better life, you know. So yeah, moving forward, like, you know, we be graceful, merciful to each other, you know, and uplifting to each other, you know what I mean? Teachers to each other, you know what I mean? Patient with each other. Yeah, because like I say, even in my experience, you know, sometimes when I listen to people, when I first meet them, I'd be like, there's this and there's that. But if you listen to them and hear what they've been through, then you'd be like, wow, this person, you know, they come far. Give thanks, at least there's a prophet based on where they come from. Just for them to even be in God's yard, give thanks, you know. So sometimes it's be like that, you know. You know, we have to look upon each other with mercy. You know, that we were former slaves. You know, we were captured, we brought it. We didn't decide this, you know. We didn't choose this, you know. That's why Emmanuel never put away his mercy from us, because we didn't choose this. If we did choose to come in the West and live this life, then yeah, that's on us. But they bring us there, they capture us, you know, they gun us and all this different stuff. You know, so through that, Jah mercy endure forever. Jah will never turn down no one, you know, to come forward to this righteousness, to come forward to this liberty. But the man say if they reject the kingdom, then they have to go. You can't keep them there. If they reject principle, they reject law, that's a part of the love, you know, from let them go, you know what I mean? Yeah, because your kingdom is a holy place. You know, no sin can enter there. No sin supposed to be in Israel. You know, that's just how it's said. You know what I mean? Even among ourselves, we purge ourselves daily. David say he repent daily, you know. David didn't say he repent the first time he meet Jah. David say repent daily. Every day we have to pray. That's in our prayer. Forgive us our trespasses. Yeah. Give us our daily bread. Yeah, because daily we have that colonial ways, but it's pop out here out of nowhere. Sometimes colonialism will slap you. You don't even see it. And when you catch yourself, you say, I can't believe I just route a person out like that. Yeah, that's all that pressure, all that things you've been through your whole life. So just word song and power, more love and now. It's black again, you know, black again.
My Lord, give thanks, Honorable.
Majesty.
The floor is open. Again, the topic is the King of Kings. Yeah, if we did have, we were going to have an announcement, but the priest is not on anymore, Priest Headley from the camp. But, you know.
You know what going on, my lord? You tried to link him?
Yeah, I did.
No, what going on.
Yeah, it's all good, though. We'll get it. We'll do it next time. But yeah, we can, you know, the floor is open, but if you know, if there's nothing else really, then we'll just seal up in just a moment.
Blessed love.
My Lord.
Yes, give thanks again. Jack Carlton here.
Yes,
yeah. You know, I just heard, you know, 1-2 topics come around, and give thanks for the speech that I read from, you know, His Imperial Majesty, talking about the principles and these things. They're very important, you know. And even the explanation that I gave, you know, talking about the meaning of these things, you know, is very true, you know. Because, you know, like you say, we have our own principle sheet and these things there. And our principles extend beyond the principle sheet, you know, because we are principle people 24/7, you know. So my point being, you know, that, you know, we talk about division, you know, Empress talk about we're too divided, and it's a difficult thing because we are all divided, even, you know, geographically and these things there, because the Bobo Shanti thing has become so big that it's worldwide and is no longer in a camp yard, you know. So it is naturally, you know, divided, and you're going to get little things, you know, like, for example, when I first came into the culture and I was, you know, here in England, meeting up with brethren, and we were doing some churchical, you know, some Sabbath, and getting to learn things, you know, and even the air of certain hymns and, you know, Zion and the way man chant and these things there, yeah. Down the line, you know, you get other brethren will come in and show you a different way or show you the fullness. Really. You know, like you get a priest just come from Bobo Hill, you know, or a more elder or Empress will show you, say, no, not so the air go, you know, not so the Zion go, not, or now is not the time to chant, you know, and because you're coming from nothing to something, you know, out here. So you find that everyone is, you know, you build together, even the priests them, because we are priests amongst us them time. And they are even learning, you know, leading priests or acting, you know. And even when I went to Bobo Hill, you know, the other part of the air, we used to sing Zion, Zion, you know. And even the that we used to sing wrong, and even within the Ethiopian anthem, and even coming back, as a young brethren in time there, it's very hard to even implement it. You have to be strict to say, like you're gonna sing over everybody to get that, to ride it out, to let them get it, and probably even pull them aside after service and say, preach, that me learn, and all right, let me go and listen to some CD and see if you catch it. And eventually everything will come to a right. And my point being again, the division, how we could change this, apart from these online things, because when a man put down his phone, and now we're back in the world already. So when you live in a camp yard life, this coming together, this meeting, we have to deal with the meeting in flesh. So whatever country you be in, whatever town, I would advise meeting, even if you don't have no bubble around you, you make a bubble, your culture. So even though, it come to the point where they want to show themselves as, go to the camp and authentic themselves, show the black man who he is, So gather people, because that will keep you learning and yearning, because because we can sit down there and forget things, and that's what happened. And when you come back, you don't remember the era of certain thing, and so it's important for us to do these kind of things, which is very good in this modern time where we have phone, and we could even sing on the phone. But the difference of the humility of Baba Shanti for me when I come in and see, like, because them time them you're young Rasta, and like we have a kind of fish lionish vibes, like we don't do this around certain people and that, and I see big Rasta man singing, like not rapping, not reggae, singing hymns and looking around and smiling with each other, so it's like it brought a whole different vibe of this badness, I see good only, and for that humility alone,
Nice,
could
man.
turn a one. Pardon me? That's the love.
When you're singing a hymn, my Lord,
bless it,
and the words of the hymn reach your man, you turn
you
around and
see
you look at your sister, or you look
yes,
at your brother, you laugh. That means say,
yeah,
it
you
is
see that
nice.
love there? Yeah, that
It
love
is
there,
nice.
you can't videotape that. You can't YouTube it. That's the different when you're in the service or whatever statically. Because when you do a move statically too, because that's another point I want to make, Bobo Shanti is very churchical, and it stems from all our ways. So, from headquarters, really, we have to be fulfilling what we say again, our principles, churchical, statical, sabbatical, So we have to do the statical works, because, in them time there, also I want to mention that, being in England now, we have the Queen and them things. She down the road there. And I, as a man, will be like, yeah, why don't we just go down there and march in there and do this, that, and set ourselves? And the priest them had to show me, like, all right, if we organize enough to put in a letter or put in this petition and go to the Queen, and she say, all right, she ready to meet with us. Are we really ready? Because we have to go to the headquarters now. We have to get other people involved now. We couldn't just leave it to I and I here. We have to get more delegates in now. Are they ready? And this is over 10 years ago now. I was saying this to the priest, and I said that's a very good point, because I could organize myself to set up some good lawyers and good letters to get into the parliament, and then when they say come forward now, I might look like a joke because of the disorganization of maybe elsewhere. So if we are all organized in our separate places, especially headquarters Jamaica, I find that we'll be able to fulfill our principles. There will be more meaning to the principles as well. We'll want to keep those principles, because a lot of the reason why a lot of people aren't keeping them is because of certain folly and certain things that shouldn't be going on. That's going on. So a man rebel, a woman rebel, not that they want to, they kind of forced to. So we give thanks, for the listening ears, as the reasoning goes on, my Lord and Empress.
Yes, my Lord, blessed love. Give thanks again for the
Blessed
reason
love.
that Jack Carlton still. Glorify.
Glorify
But
Him.
the fact still remain, you know, is every man have to save themselves. And every woman have to save themselves. And even though you know, say, well, then you go, I used to say, you know, the principle that is laid down is not kept. But the fact still remains, say, you know about the principle, right? And you can't say, well, because of John or Henry, you didn't follow the protocol because you didn't see them, you know, you didn't see them was living it. You have to live it. And I who know the right and thing we have to do, we have to live it, right? So them can who not live in the principle, come follow. You see, so that's why it's still like how say because man go there and say, all right, I heard you know, he knows the principle have to put him short in his pants, in his foundation. Put him short in his pants and dress properly. But you go, you see a man, him have him short out time pants, right? You know within yourself, say, that is not the principle in the foundation. Your shirt supposed to be in your pants. No, you go follow him because you see him have him shirt in pants. You go say, boy, and that me come see. But you know within yourself, say, oh no, so it go. You know, see. So that's why we don't know who know it. We have to live it. You know, see, you can't follow because when it time come, you can't go tell that say, you know, say, I'm this, me go here and see that, or you know, say, no, so it go. No, you have to go answer. You see, that's why a man say, you have to save yourself. And I have to save yourself, those who know the right. We have to do the right. We have to live the right. And that's the saving judgment, my Lord. Give thanks.
Bless. Yes, Royal Family, Black again. Give thanks for the reasoning, Royal Family. Yes, I want to just even send a word to the brethren, to the Honorable Majesty, same said way, you know. From the man them in England, right, and the Queen up the street, you know, and the item organize yourself to go ahead and propose to the Queen, you know. Yeah, you know, I move, you know, through the spirit of prophecy, through the spirit of Marcus Emmanuel, same said way. True King Emmanuel say, when you see yourself, you see Christ. You know, you can't look nowhere else to see Christ. You know, from the man them go together and you go before the Queen, you're going as Christ. That's Christ right there. Yeah, and the man say, if you don't know what to say, you'll open your mouth, just open your mouth, you'll fill it with words, you know. So another thing, even to think, you know, too far ahead, the man say in the Psalm, say, why do we imagine vain things? You know, it's not good to think what could, you know, happen, you know, but just to do and then see what can be done after we do what happened, you see. So from your present yourself to the Queen, it may not need to go no further. You may not need to go to the foundation. The Queen may be like, yo, what y'all want me to do? And y'all just tell her we want 7, 9, or 21 miles at high water ship. Yeah, ain't nothing more else to talk about. Me want our reparation. You don't need to call no one in Jamaica. Just set that up and then call Jamaica when the time at Egypt and say, hey, we sending the ships. Yeah, so it just say salvation could come out of any one of us, you know, because all of us is Christ. But if we keep looking to each other to do it, then it'll never get done. You see, that's why I in this time, the man say, do the little you could do. That could be much, you know. But if you see, even if you see it as a little, just do it with faith, you know what I mean? And then see where it go from there. Yeah, you know, that's the best way we could deal with it, you know. Well, Emmanuel, that's just my advice to the brethren, same said way on moving forward, you know, with the delegation in England, you know what I mean? From is a right, yeah, that's the might. Yeah, who gonna stop that? No one. Yeah.
Yes, my Lord. Blessed. Let me just touch on that again. This is some years back still, you know, and my heart and mind was at it then, you know, to tell you the truth. It's only the priest kind of give me this word, you know. I was like, who could stop me? You know, I was younger and stronger still. So, but the priest kind of show me, say, like you say, if we are organized and ready, by the priest saying that he's showing me we're not organized. So I think a few years later, maybe 3 or 4 years later, we did start some marches on August the 1st. We did get involved in some marches, but there was some breakdown in, you know, organization because there were other Rasta groups and other Black liberation groups involved, and there was some splinter things going on. But I myself, from that was 2013. They had the first march, and that was like a big. You may have seen pictures on all these things there on the media from that year, and then Bobo Shanti have been involved in some way every year, because there's a prophet, an elder prophet, Kwame, who is like involved in the committee of who organizes that march, and he's an official elder prophet, and he gets everything straight from Bobo Hill every year when they do go to do that presentation there at the House of Parliament. And he always do it. You will see his picture. You see a Bobo picture there at Downing Street, 10 Downing Street. Because when we go to march, they would only let us because you can't just walk on them street there where the Prime Minister live. But they let the organizers, Empress Esther, who is I don't know what Rasta group she belonged to, but I believe she's a Rastafari Empress, and also Prophet Kwame, who is a Bobo Shanti. So it's good that we are on the forefront, of doing them works there every year, even though a lot of Bobo Shanti along the years I have witnessed myself are getting less and less involved, but I do go down every year to partake in some way. Sometimes I march, sometimes I don't, So yeah, that's the progression from there. Right now, we're just looking to really get properly organized because, like I said, when I was talking about that then, it had never been done before, and then now things have been done. So there's a lot of comparisons for a man to say, they're not going to do it because of that. They're not going to do it because of this. But I'm looking forward to that time, But we have the people, we have the people, Yeah,
Yes, my Lord.
no
So
matter
my
where it
advice,
is in high and low places.
my advice to
Yes,
the
my
God,
Lord.
is like I say, naturally for the eye to keep it Emmanuel and be very skillful of us getting attached to different organizations. That's very important. That's why Emmanuel never deal with that organization, because we don't truly know their intentions. So once we go in before and we present ourselves as an, a independent organization, and continuing the works. And even with thyself, you may get older and you may not be as stronger, but you're now wiser. So that's why you could take the young man now who's stronger, you see, and you could guide him when, you were strong and you didn't have a wiser to guide you. You see, so this way the change in the generation
Naturally.
come. Yeah, this way we get to overcome. This way Joshua get over, Jordan. Yeah, truly understand. Yeah, he have to take this role that others may not have taken. And that's what the king said. We have to do something that has never been. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
my Lord.
naturally. Yes. Yeah,
Yes,
give
God.
thanks, I'm waiting for I'm still here, willing to be involved in such, and whenever things come in that right manner there, I'll be there, with the old and young, just like before. So yes, and I'm sure ones and ones will be updated, as Bobo Shanti, a very close-knit community. And one thing I like about, this, because, although we had a small, group of us in England at that time, when I came in, but then when you sometimes when we sit and watch videos and the way they talk, like this one is their brethren over there, and everyone knows each other. And along the years, I grew to, traveled and through the media and these things there, you get to know a lot of these people that they knew. They become your friends, well, personal friends, and brethren and sistren. So I give thanks for that, that we all acknowledge each other. We all don't probably like each other. We all have little things, we're not perfect, but we give thanks that we know even the hijack as well, enough times we buck up on online and them thing there, but we love the eye, because the eye
Really?
always there, So give thanks. A long time I link the eye,
More love,
peace.
man. More love. More love. Just say teeth don't fall out, but the love is there,
Yeah, man, the
Yeah,
man
the love
always
is
there, we have to give thanks for that, and the eye is a loving
Yeah.
brother, and all ones on here, you know, in some way, me know the item. And that is very positive, you know. That's his principles, you know, of Emmanuel, you know, Marcus and Selassie, you know, that love. And we could see it and feel it. So yes, my Lord, you know, let another one speak still, you know.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything they wanted to add, you know, to the reasoning? Now is the time. Shortly we'll close up. You know, it'd be good to hear from some ones that we didn't hear yet. You know, but no pressure still. If you don't have nothing to say, you don't have to speak. No reason to speak, just to speak.
Blessed love, my Lord.
Blessed love, Honorable.
Yes, I just wanted to address Honorable Priest Caswell when he brought up the photograph of His Majesty and the issue of did His Majesty continue in a priestical order. And I have seen that picture of the man.
Okay.
It was my understanding that he was a Bahatawi. I'm not sure, but when I see the locks, you know, and I haven't been to Ethiopia and seen them, you know, what he looked like to me was a Bahatawi, which is like they like and correct me if I am wrong, but they like an ascetic order aside. These men they like be in the bush for years and they subsist on like, you know, 3 chickpeas a day, you know, and like eating honey and, you know, real biblical, you know, real rudical men there. And, you
like
know,
John.
yes, exactly. You know, so, and the ones I would see, they would be barefoot and they would have a loincloth and just a staff, you know, and they just be walking by the side of the road. So, you know, I don't know. I did hear that there was a tradition in the Ethiopian nobility where the king, the emperor would withdraw himself, you know, and go into the mountain for contemplation and prayer and meditation. So I don't know, but you know, really, the way I see it now is, you know, we have to do the work, you know, and so we can sit and talk about these things, but you know, I think that the meditations that the item was coming forward today was very constructive and, you know, it's inspiring. So I give thanks. Blessed love, my Lord and Empress.
Give thanks, Honorable.
Honor.
Yeah, the floor is still open, you know, some different voices. The ones that haven't spoken, we'd love to get you know, to hear from the item. Let your voice be heard, you know. Otherwise, we're gonna wrap it up.
My Lord and Empress, give thanks again, my Lord, for this reasoning. It was really helpful, my Lord, how we really could reason upon the king, and from the king's work and words, we could really draw reasoning upon the mission of the king, which we are volunteering for. So give thanks, my Lord, for the guidance that everyone brings forward, the teachings from the elders, and yeah, the strength and the willingness from the young ones. I really love this. Yeah, this hopeful meditation, my Lord and Empress. Give thanks.
Yes, Prophet Joseph, give thanks, my Lord. All right, so yeah, I guess at this time, I'll just ask, you know, Honorable Priest Caswell. I think that is the only priest on right now. Yes, Priest Caswell, if you could just, you know, seal it forward with a prayer, please, my Lord.
Natural, my Lord, give thanks. Moment, so Emmanuelize, last Rastafari. How good and how pleasant is the virgin to dwell and get in one unity. But Emmanuelize, last Rastafari. Give thanks for the gathering. Give thanks for the love. Give thanks for the giving of thanks. Give thanks for those who came and those who didn't come. Those who are about to come. Okay, Emmanuel 7. Done. Yeah, God. Rastafari, 7 words of love, Jah leave us. God is love, so let us love. King Emmanuel eyes, Selassie eyes, Rastafari, Majesty, Empress, Prince and Princess, Majesty, love, 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 love.
Yes, my Lord and Empress,
Honor.
this is the African Liberation Network. I am Prophet Daniel, the host. Give thanks for, the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, Church of Divine Salvation, and its royal congregation, sons and daughters of the living God, royal kings and queens. The first government of the earth is the Black man and the Black woman, So yes, I give thanks for the reasoning, everyone, give thanks for all who shared, give thanks for all those who listen. Hopefully, the information here will help inspire us to continue on the King's mission, which is international collective security based on international morality, righteousness of salvation. So give thanks again, royal family. And at this time, we'll close the reasoning and we look forward to the next one. My Lord and Empress, that's it.
Bless the love, part of love.
That's it.
More love. More wings.
Love, love, love.
Rastafari.
Universal.
That's it.